Hi traders, thanks for joining in. Welcome to the one seminar by L2ST. Some of you have just logged in, so let's just do another sound check and also a visual check. Make sure you guys can see the screen and also hear me okay. And we will get started. Thank you very much. Right, all good, all loud and clear. No adjustments required. Okay, great. Okay, first of all, thank you all for attending today. We have an audience from all around the world here. Thailand, I can see, South Australia, USA, Milan, Guernsey, Singapore, Netherlands, Brisbane, so another Australian there, Sydney as well, Bangkok. So yeah, a lot of attendees from down under today. Nice to see. And the other side of the ocean. As well, of course, the States. Some guys from the UK here. Europe. Switzerland, Netherlands, Italy, Spain. Great, good audience. Well, first of all, thank you very much and taking the time out on the weekend. I'm sure to make this a worthwhile seminar for all of you that are present. Some of you are probably thinking, why is it called the One? And it's basically the first thing that came to mind for me. I wanted this to be a seminar that I could say pretty much puts everything that I've learned over my years of experience in the trading business and put it all into one package, one seminar over one weekend. Make it also one of the best, if not the best, seminar that I've presented, and also the one and only seminar that you guys should need to take yourselves along the journey to becoming great traders that are on the path to consistent profits. And it's my objective to make this seminar the seminar that makes it all happen for you. So of course, you know, it's a seminar is providing the information and the foundation that you need, and you know, you do have to still move forward and make it all happen for yourself. And I will be, over the next 2 days, sharing some ideas and some methods and techniques that I've used myself over my journey, which of course I'm still on. I'm still on this journey, and many of you have heard before that success is a journey and not a destination, and I am very much a believer in that. And trading is definitely one of those fields where you have to see it in that way. There is always room to improve in trading. There is always something new to learn and something to progress towards and something to aim towards. So it is a never-ending journey. I myself didn't see it being a never-ending journey when I first got in this business, but I'm sure you will all agree that it is, and there is always room for improvement, and I continue to improve, and that's one of the reasons why I do these seminars. The last seminar I actually presented was last year around about this time, so it's been just over a year since we did the last seminar, and I think it's now time that I did another one. As well, firstly, my understanding has grown. Everything that I teach has been understood even better, and I feel that I am at the peak of my trading career right now for this moment, and it is my job over the next 2 days to share everything that I've learnt during this journey to the best of my ability to where I am right now, and of course this journey continues, and do understand that, and but it all starts somewhere, and I'm hoping that I will give you all something to go away with this weekend. By the end of tomorrow, you guys will have a good understanding of what I know and what I have learnt, but also will have the ability to go away and become creative with that level of understanding that you gain. And that is also another one of my objectives, to create traders here that or help you become creators rather than just followers. I want each and every single one of you to be able to go away and make this your own. So everything that you take away from what I have to share with you, I want to share it with you in such a way that you can take it away and actually become creative with the level of understanding that you have, and therefore make it your own and continue to grow with it. Right, so that's a quick brief intro. I hope you guys enjoy what I have to share with you. So let's move on. Just to quickly cover some groundwork here. Of course, we are sharing this over the internet, and there of course could be technical difficulties. So this is more of a contingency. So if there for any reason is an internet connection drop on my end, I do have a backup connection, which in that case I will switch to my backup connection. Of course, we are hoping that there are no technical issues, but let's plan ahead, just as we do with our trading. Plan for anything that we may personally not like to happen, but may possibly happen. So let's be prepared. If there is any technical difficulties on my end, my plan is to, if it's an internet connection drop, I will plan to move to another connection. I'm of course hoping that will not happen, but if it does, just be aware that you will lose connection to the presentation and any audio. I will get myself back up and running in that case as quickly as possible. So just be aware if there is any loss of visuals or audio. It could well just be that we've just lost audio and visuals on your end, but if it is a connection drop, you all may lose visuals and audio. So just take that into consideration. Of course, we are not expecting that to happen, but we are relying on technology and the power of the internet connection holding up here. So we all know that can go down at times, so be prepared. And of course, on your end, if there is any loss of visuals or sound, the first thing I would recommend that you do is log out and log back in. If, however, there is still no sound or audio, in that instance, I would recommend that you take the time to drop me an email. I will be checking my emails during the breaks. Okay, which brings me on to my next topic, the breaks. We will have a break every hour to hour and a half, every 60 minutes to 90 minutes. It has been in my experience from attending seminars and webinars, and also from my experiences presenting them, that the attention span generally drops off after about 1 hour or 90 minutes of speaking. So it's usually a good time to just sort of break out, take your eyes away from the screens, and also give your eyes some rest. Go and grab yourself a drink. I would also recommend that if you can, also stay hydrated throughout the remainder of the next 2 days. If you are coffee drinkers or tea drinkers, obviously, drink what you like, but I would recommend that you also keep hydrated with some water and drink water. That will keep your brain cells going and keep your attention span to the maximum. And we will also have a break around 4:30 p.m. GMT. The plan is to have an hour break at that time. That is today and tomorrow. And we plan to finish or complete the presentations today and tomorrow between around 8:30 GMT to around 9 p.m. GMT. But do give or take a little bit of time there. This is pretty much, a lot of this is unscripted, untimed. So I will be going with the flow, and I want this to be very much an interactive presentation. So I do want you guys, especially during the technical parts of this seminar, where we do go to the charts, to make this very interactive. And I would like you guys to get involved and ask questions as well, stay engaged in the presentation, and the last thing I want is you guys just sort of sitting there and just listening, and I'm sure I won't put you to sleep, but I don't want you guys sitting there losing your attention. So do get engaged, do get involved and interact at the times you feel is necessary, and do ask questions throughout the next 2 days. Right, that's pretty much the main stuff out of the way. Let's move on and just go over the disclaimer for legal purposes. L2ST does not have any knowledge of the trading needs or objectives of individual viewers of this presentation. This presentation represents suggestions, training and information for viewers to use when evaluating and making trading decisions in light of their own individual trading goals, and does not constitute specific advice. L2ST does not take into account the trading objectives, financial situation and needs of any particular person. And before making a trading decision on the basis of an L2ST method of trading, the prospective trader needs to consider, with or without the assistance of an advisor, whether the advice is appropriate in light of their own particular trading needs, objectives and financial circumstances. Trading the futures markets involves risk. Money can be both lost and made. Now, just to reiterate, guys, here, I am in no way telling anybody what to do here. I'm purely sharing information to give you a good foundation for your own trading career. I am sharing knowledge and wisdom that has been gained throughout my own trading experiences. Now, you do, as I said, have to make this your own. We have traders here from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. Some of you are newer to the trading arena, and some of you are very new to the trading arena, especially the way of trading that I teach, which is using the auction market theory principles, market profiling, volume profiling techniques, and also order flow trading techniques. So I would like everybody to just understand that everybody is from a different walk of life here. Everybody has a different background, different level of experience. We have some traders here that are very experienced trading. Some of you have even been trading longer than me. Some of you guys are ex-floor traders. Some of you guys are institutional traders. Some of you guys are prop traders. And some of you guys are trading for hedge funds. And then we have the non-professional environment as well, where we have the retail traders that are trading from their own accounts, looking to make it in this business as well. Doesn't really matter where you've come from. I would like you guys to all become empty cups over the next 2 days. So try to forget about what you know for the next 2 days. Become very much like children. Become like sponges and just soak in the information, take it in, and then see what you can do with it after the end of tomorrow. Okay, so for the next 2 days, become like sponges, soak it all in, become like children, almost pretend like you don't know anything and are very eager to learn. Okay, so that's where I want you guys to approach this. So, we'll move on, but do understand that we are all coming from different perspectives here. Okay, day one, the plan is a little bit different here in the way that I've structured this. This is a completely new presentation for some of you guys that have attended the previous seminars that I have presented over the years. A note there will be some overlapping material, but the way I will cover it will be different. So of course my method is very much the same as it has been last year, the year before and the year before. I am using the same method as a foundation of my trading business and growing with that, evolving with it. So what I want you guys to understand, if you have been on any of the previous seminars before, is to look at this in a similar way. I want you guys to understand that everything that I've taught you in the past on previous seminars is very much relevant, and a lot of it will overlap with what I have to share over today and tomorrow, and some of it may be shared in a slightly different way. So I may be talking about the same topic, but actually talking about it in a slightly different way, giving you added perspectives, new perspectives, which will widen your awareness about that particular topic and of course improve your understanding. The main goal over the next 2 days is to improve your level of understanding of what you already know and everything that you are going to learn over the next 2 days as well, if it's new to you. The presentation is completely new, the slides are completely new, and you will all get a copy of the slides and the presentation. I'm actually going to send you guys a link to the online presentation. You guys will actually have the animation as well as the videos that are incorporated from tomorrow's side of the presentation when it comes to the order flow stuff, where I'll be covering the dome and the depth of market and talking you through some video clips of some live market data, as well as live trading sequences as well. So the way I want you guys to look at this is the structure is based upon the objectives. Okay, these are my objectives as a coach, as a mentor, and as a presenter over the next 2 days. My objective over day one is to help improve your level of market understanding. Okay, which will cover a wide variety of topics, from auction market theory, volume profiling, market profile, the use of the VWAP, the use of Fibonacci, the use of divergences. So it's going to be a wide variety of topics to improve your level of market understanding. Second point here, I want to focus on helping you all to learn how to identify very high probability trading opportunities using the level of understanding that you have gained. I then want to focus on helping you understand how to review risk and reward in every trade that you look to take before you take the trade. I want you to understand risk and trade potential. I want you to understand how to identify and review risk to reward potential in trading opportunities before the day even starts, before you even decide to take a trade. And of course, tomorrow we'll be moving on to how to understand your risk reward potential whilst you are live and in a trade as well. Then towards the later part of today, I will be focusing more on the psychological aspects of trading, which I'm sure you all are aware is a very important part of trading, and also a very important part of the way that I approach this as a coach and a mentor and as a teacher. It's very important for me to discuss the importance of developing the right mindset, developing the right way of thinking, the right kind of psychology to develop a winning trader's mindset. So I will be discussing more about that. I will be discussing some of the characteristics of a trader that is maybe trading not to lose rather than trading to win, and talk about the differences. And I want you guys at that point in time to also be able to understand where you might be, and understand also where you might be thinking psychologically more in lines with a trading not to lose mindset, rather than what you should be thinking which is being engaged with more of a winning trader's mindset. So I'll be talking about the characteristics and explaining some of the ideas of how to move to a winning trader's mindset and develop the right kind of psychology to move forward with the methods that I share with you. Day two, the structure is based upon meeting these objectives. I want to help you all understand how to read short-term market participants' behaviors, and that will be, of course, looking at the depth of market, reading the dome, reading price action, price rejection and acceptance, using bar charts and candlestick charts, etc., and using Heikin Ashi charts. I will also be covering time and sales, the information that we see from an order flow perspective, really understanding the information at a very high level, so that you can understand what is actually going on when you are reading the order book as well as the time and sales, and then of course bringing it all together, then reading the footprints and understanding how the footprints can help you with execution and timing. I'll give you some examples of how to use the depth of market and the time and sales together, and I'll also go through a lot of footprint examples during that time tomorrow as well. The kind of things you should be looking for to get into trades, the kind of things you should be looking for to stay out of trades. Next, I will be focusing on helping you understand how to master trade management, which is probably the most important part, because at the end of the day, you can have the best opportunities in the world, you can have the best market understanding, you might know a hell of a lot about the market and how to trade, but you may not be able to make it happen for you. You may not be able to get the results that you are looking for. And this is where the category that I find most traders actually fall, especially most of the traders that end up joining the Ultra SG trading room and attending our seminars. Generally, my audience are traders that are experienced, have been in the trading world for some time. Okay, not all of you, but most of you have been trading for some time and are on the journey, but you need that extra bit of wisdom to help just get through those last few obstacles and get yourselves onto the path to consistent profits. And a lot of it comes down to trade management. Okay, of course a lot of it is psychology as well, but trade management is a big part of it. Technically, trade management, it can make the difference between gaining a winning trade and a losing trade, irrelevant of the kind of opportunity that you get involved in. So trade management is an important part of this seminar. I'll be focusing on trade management tomorrow, discussing different ways to manage trades, low risk, high reward opportunities, high probability opportunities, as well as higher risk, lower reward opportunities, etc. So we'll go through different forms of trade management, different ways to manage your trades based on the amount of capital that you trade as well. I will then move on to sort of moving forward with this. How do you develop daily routines to guide you towards successful trading? I will cover some stuff on business planning, preparation on a daily basis, pre-market analysis, intraday analysis, as well as how to look at your performance on a regular basis and then provide feedback to yourself or gain feedback from another individual, and look to keep growing in your trading business in a very similar way that I approach the mentorship programs for any of you guys that are on the mentorship programs. Okay, you would know how I approach those. And then towards the end of tomorrow we'll be covering some questions and answers, and that will pretty much bring us to the end of the day. So quite a lot to get through, but those are my main objectives to hit over the next 2 days. So I hope that sounds good to you guys. Right, any questions thus far? No, good. Okay, so I spoke quite a bit about developing the right trader's mindset. So the way I want you guys to look at what I'm going to share with you today and tomorrow is to look at it in a way where you're looking to improve your level of understanding of the markets and the way you do business. If any of you are coming into this with the systematic trader's mindset, I want you guys to lose that way of thinking. So if you are looking for setups, specific setups, if you are looking for specific entries, specific trade management techniques, okay, I want you guys to forget about that. What I want you guys to understand is trading is much an art form. It's very little science and very much an art form. It's much like playing a sport. So if you see yourself more like an athlete, an athlete looking to learn how to play a sport, that's the best way to approach it. Forget about, okay, I'm going to see this, and then I'm going to get in. I'm going to see this, and then I'm going to get out. I want you to not think in that way. What I want you to do is open your mind and develop an understanding, a very good understanding of all of the principles that I'm going to share with you. And from that level of understanding, become creative in the moment. Okay? The thing is, if you are too systematic, you will not be able to think in the moment and react in the moment in the way you need to as a trader. So if you come into each and every trade as, okay, this is my buy sell setup, I'm just going to get in, that's more of a system trader's mindset. What I am teaching you is not a system. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of understanding the market. And how well you will trade this way will depend on the level of understanding that you have. Right? Does everybody understand that? It's a simple concept, but I want everybody to understand that, because most traders will come into the trading business with a systematic mindset. They have been down that route where they are looking for buy sell signals. You know, discretionary trading is very different. It takes a different kind of mindset. So if anybody is coming into this with a systematic mindset, I want you guys to lose that. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, discretionary. Some people will go for the mechanical because it sort of takes themselves out of the equation. You know, there is nothing wrong with mechanical trading, nothing wrong with system trading. But what I want you to understand is that what I am teaching you requires a different way of understanding the markets, and a different way of approaching the markets, and a different way of trading the markets. It's a different mindset to somebody that comes into the trading business as a systematic or mechanical trader. It's okay if you do want to systemize these concepts at a later stage, and maybe mechanize the concepts at some point. But what I do want to help you understand is that if you are to do that, you firstly have to understand how it all works. Okay, so I do not want anybody to look at this as, okay, buy and sell setups. Auction market theory is very much about understanding what the market participants are doing. Or firstly, before that, it's about understanding what the market is all about and how it works and how it functions. And once you've understood that, then you need to understand how people do business in the market. What makes the market move? What behavior makes the market move? And really, this is much more so about understanding behavior. So rather than trying to look at understanding system setups or signals, okay, I want you to think about this as, okay, I'm trying to get behind the mindset of the market participants, and I need to understand what they are thinking, what they are believing, so that I can trade them. So rather than thinking of this as trading a system, think of this as a way of trading people. And the only way to trade people and what they are thinking and believing is to understand them very well. Okay, understand them and what they are thinking and believing very well. Okay, and the concepts that I'm going to share with you, all the auction market theory principles, allows for you to develop a model to be able to do exactly that. All right, so this is the way that I've broken down trading. And this is very much the kind of mindset that I would like each and every single one of you to form. Firstly, focus on developing a solid foundation, and your foundation is understanding. When you have a foundation which is built upon solid understanding, what I mean by understanding is the understanding of the market, what makes the market move, how does it move, who's involved in the market, what is my competition, who are they, how are they trading. Then understanding how do they behave in the market, how do they do business. Okay, that is a foundation to how well you would trade with this method. When you have that understanding, and only when you have that understanding, can you identify the opportunities. Okay, now the difference here between a systematic trader, a more mechanical trader, is that they move straight to opportunities. Okay, they don't want to understand why the market is doing what it's doing. They don't need to understand what the market participants are doing. They just need to know, okay, is there a buy signal or is there a sell signal? Is there a sell signal? Okay, does my system tell me to buy? Does my system tell me to sell? That's all they need to know. Nothing wrong with that, but it's relying on the system to perform. What I am trying to teach you guys is relying on yourself, fully relying on yourself as a trader, just like an athlete would. Your performance as an athlete relies on what? How well you perform, right? Your performance as a trader, and the kind of trader that I am and the kind of traders that I am trying to help you guys become, is based upon how well you perform. So I want everybody to be performance focused, see themselves as athletes, and as you move on to every little technique that I share with you, you've got to see it from that perspective. So the core foundation of this is understanding how the markets work, understanding how people think and believe the market works, and understanding how people behave in the market and do business. When you've understood that, you can identify the opportunities. Okay, if you haven't fully understood that, the opportunities won't make much sense. Okay, they may do from a technical perspective, but from a core level of understanding, a very high level of understanding, they will make very little sense. Okay, now the next step, once you've understood the opportunities, you can then identify the risk reward potential in the trades. Again, this all comes back to understanding. How well you understand the market and the current situation will define how well you understand the risk reward potential. So it's very much a cycle, this. It all comes back to how well you understand things. If you move from opportunity straight to risk to reward, well, if you don't understand much about the market situation and the current environment, again, you're at a bit of a loose end. Okay? Then, of course, you move to execution and getting into the trade, timing the trade, getting in. And then, of course, managing the trade to get the result that you're looking for. Now, again, if this just comes from opportunity, then straight away to risk reward potential, straight away to execution management, forgetting the level of understanding, you're very much going to be stuck at a loose end again. You won't know why things work when they do, and you won't know when things don't work, why they don't work. Whereas, if you approach this from the perspective of developing a key understanding first, key level of understanding, and focus on trading your level of understanding rather than a system, you can always go back to, okay, how well did I understand the situation? And therefore, that's what can give you the tools to grow. If you're always going back to, okay, my level of understanding, you can always grow your level of understanding. If you can always grow your level of understanding, you can always grow and improve your performance. Right? This does not rely on how good the method is. Okay, this relies solely on how good you understand the market. The method is all designed around using tools that help you understand the market. Does everybody understand this so far? Right, good stuff. Does that make sense? Excellent. It may be simplistic, guys, but I want to make sure that everybody develops the simple stuff is sometimes exactly what you need to master. Okay, because if you can understand the simple stuff, the rest of it is pretty much easy. I want you guys to remember that. If you can, even if you can apply a very good level of understanding in a simple way, you are way ahead a trader that knows a hell of a lot but doesn't understand it well. Okay, if you understand one concept really well, for example, taking the simplest concept of acceptance and rejection, really understanding acceptance and rejection from an auction market theory perspective, and applying that with some of the tools that I will show you, volume profiling, market profile, etc., and you understand that better than somebody that that has read all of the books on market profile, volume profile, yet has learned so much, but yet has understood almost nothing. You will be a way ahead that person, that trader. And you see it all the time in the trading business. Traders know a hell of a lot. They read all the books. They can read all the books they like. They've learned everything they need to know about market profile, or they feel that they've read it, but they haven't fully understood it. The difference between learning and understanding is huge. Okay, it's not learned until it's not fully learned until you've understood it. Right. Some of you guys have seen the 5-step game plan before. 5-step game plan is something that I've been sharing for a long time, ever since I started teaching traders. And I always come back to this 5-step game plan because it never changes. This is the foundation for understanding the markets and trading the markets. Everything else falls into this plan. Most of you guys that have attended the previous seminars will know this, and I'm going to go through it time and time again until it becomes embedded in your unconscious. It becomes a natural way of thinking and doing business. The 5-step game plan, very much focused on building the mindset that I've just showed in the previous slide. Step 1, understand. As I've said earlier, if you don't understand fully what you are trying to do, and you don't understand fully what the market is about and what the market participants are trying to do, it doesn't matter how you look to trade, it will appear difficult. Whereas if you develop a very good understanding of the market and the way the market moves and the market participant behaviors, you can pretty much trade any system or any method fantastically. Okay, and that's why I've often said it myself. Okay, I've challenged traders. I said, give me any chart, give me any tools, I'll be able to trade with it, because you'll look beyond it. As long as you can see price and where it is, as long as you can see some kind of market structure, you will understand what's going on, irrelevant of what tools or indicators you have put on that chart. And I've said it before, if you can't trade a basic naked chart, just a candlestick or a bar chart, you're going to struggle to trade with anything else that's on top of it. Okay, so understanding the current market situation is really important. Understanding the market structure from a top-down approach. Top-down approach, bringing yourself down right to the moment in the now from a longer time frame perspective. Every day in the trading room, what do? I go through the daily chart. Even though it's a follow-on from the previous day, but the daily chart adds so much of a perspective, helps you understand so much about the market. It's an essential part of a day trader's daily routine. Very essential to understand from a top-down approach. Even if you are trading short-term, you still need to know within which context you are trading. And that's going to take me on to my next topic on the next few slides when I start talking about context. Step 2, identify possible scenarios and opportunities. Identify what the market may attempt to do next before it does it. And the only way you'll be able to understand what the market may do before it moves and before it actually makes the attempt to that potential move is if you understand where we are right now and within which context you are currently sitting at in this current market situation. So it's very much being able to go through that process of pre-market analysis. Look at the market and say, okay, I'm going to be looking to sell here, I'm going to be looking to buy here. I have a trading plan for the day way ahead of the market even opening up. And a lot of the time what I will do is draw arrows. I will say, okay, I expect the market to go from here down to here. I expect the market to go from here. If it finds the sellers here, I expect it to go all the way down to here. Okay. If I expect the market to, if I see the market come down to this area, I expect longer time frame buyers to be doing business here, because this is what I understand about the market. And if they are found, based upon my level of understanding, the market should be going to here. Now, if you don't have step 1, you can't do step 2. Key point. Step 3, identify risk to reward. Now, this is essential because each and every single one of us will have a different objective. And if we are going to take a trade, we need to know ahead of time whether it stands a chance of reaching our objectives. For example, there is no point me taking a trade on the E-mini S&P if I'm looking for potentially a 7-point move. And we have, from what I can understand and see from the market right now in the current situation, we're in a 2-point range, and we only mostly like to get about a 2-point move. There is no point me taking a move looking for 7 points. Okay, now I can adapt and say, okay, in this situation I'll drop my size, or I'll trade smaller, or I'll only go for the 2 points. Okay, but you need to identify, again, to identify your risk reward, you need to understand the market situation, you need to understand where the market is and what it may do next before you can even identify your risk reward. Now, some traders will approach the market and identify risk reward by what? Just setting a stop and target. And they will take the same risk, looking for the same objective in every single trade, irrelevant of the market condition and irrelevant of the current market situation. Which is, it's really no surprise that if you don't understand what trades you are taking, firstly, and identify the opportunity that is most likely to reach your objective first, it's really no surprise that if you just take a trade based upon purely that, okay, it's a signal, that a lot of the time you won't reach your objective. Okay, because if you have no understanding of whether it's going to reach your objective and you don't know whether it has a good chance, there's no real edge there. Okay, the only thing you can rely on is, okay, in the past, the back test, shows that maybe, this target should be hit this many times. Nothing wrong with that, but in the moment, you want to put the odds in your favor right there and then, in the moment. And the past has nothing to do with the moment. In the now, the past is irrelevant. Okay, yes, the market has a history and it repeats itself quite commonly, but the edge in the moment is not based upon what's happened in the past. It's about how well you read what's happening right there and then in the now. Okay, so when I talk about step 3 here, it's about identifying the opportunity and the risk reward potential in the moment, in the now. Okay, very different from relying on a back test to identify risk to reward. Step 4, trade execution, executing in a very timely manner. Okay, with the expected scenario clearly in mind. Now again, when it even comes down to trade execution, you have to understand what you are looking for. You have to understand, firstly, before you can even look to execute a trade, where you are in terms of structure. Where are you in terms of trade location? Are we at a place where we should be looking for buyers to be entering the market? Are we in a place where we should be looking for aggressive selling behavior? Now, if you don't understand that, again, it makes execution difficult. Now, if you just go to execution without firstly going through steps 1 to 3, and you just say, okay, more buyers lifting the offer, let me get in. More sellers hitting the bids without any understanding of market structure, market logic, and market participants' behaviors, again, you're already at a loose end. So it's very important to approach this in a structured format for each and every trade, and it always goes back to how well you understand things. Step 5, trade management. Manage the trade within the risk parameters that you have set in your business plan, that you have set in your trading plan, taking into consideration the amount of capital you have to trade and the amount of risk you can take per day and per trade. Then scale in and scale out around those ideas as required. I'll be talking tomorrow about scaling in and scaling out, as well as going all in, then scaling out, as well as going all in and then scaling, and then just getting out. And I'll cover some of the benefits of each. And then, of course, you need to know if the premise or the reason for being in the trade in the first place is over, or if you need to take more risk, or not, or that is basically adding into the position, or whether, you know, if the trade actually requires more risk than you actually can take. You might be in a situation where you're in a trade where it requires more risk than you can actually afford to take. Now, those opportunities, if it requires more risk than you can afford to take in your business plan, you need to pass on. Okay, so that's a, you know, very simple overview of the 5-step game plan. Very much what every trade comes down to. Every opportunity that you take, it all falls into this 5-step game plan. This is the full 5-step game plan for every trade and every opportunity that you take. Okay, it's very simplistic, and most of the best stuff is. And but you know, you got to ask yourself, you can go back to this and say to yourself, okay, have I understood the market situation very well? If you've ever taken a trade that's not worked out, and you sort of see that as a bit of a pattern, it's okay to have a trade that doesn't work out. Of course you're going to have trades that don't work. I have trades that don't work, right? But you have to go back at some point when you're going through the performance feedback loop. You've got to go back and say to yourself, okay, how well did I do business? How well did I perform in line with my 5-step game plan? Did I understand the market structure and the situation well before I even identified the opportunity? Okay, did I identify a good opportunity? Did I identify good risk reward potential in the trade? Did I execute the trade well? Did I manage the trade well? And now then you can go back to this 5-step game plan and review each step and ask yourself how well you performed under each step. Right, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let me just have a sip of water here. Guys, if you do have any questions throughout this presentation, do feel free to talk or type in, sorry, your questions. You won't be able to talk. Right, so how do we gain understanding? Well, firstly, it's all about understanding context. The key thing that will give you a very good understanding of where the market is, what current situation you are looking to trade within, and also to develop an understanding of what the market participants are most likely to do next, is really understood through understanding context. So you have to know where the market is trading within the market structure that I will teach you. So some of the things that we need to fully understand before we develop a good or great understanding of the market is, as silly as it may seem, we need to know the purpose of the market. Most of you guys know the answer to this. What's the purpose of the market? Can you guys tell me the purpose of the market? Excellent. Yep, to facilitate trade, right? Facilitate trade. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the job of a market. Very much the same as a supermarket, right? They want customers. Very much the same as a retail store down the street. Okay? They need customers to do business. So, what's the job of a market? The job of the market, the purpose of the market, is to facilitate trade in an efficient manner. It's nothing more, nothing less. That's as simple as it gets. Okay, now that has to be the key foundation to your understanding. You've always got to ask yourself, okay, is the market doing its job well? Now, what helps us read how well the market is doing its job is auction market theory concepts. I'll talk about auction market theory in a little bit more detail next. Once we've understood auction market theory very well, and I've simplified auction market theory down to what I believe is the most important thing to understand about auction market theory. Once you have understood auction market theory, it helps you understand and know your competition much better. So auction market theory is a method, a way of understanding the market, a way to think about the market, which helps you know your competition, know the market participants, know what they may do before they make the next move. Okay, and understand that beforehand, purely by understanding some of the simplest aspects of auction market theory. Understanding the trade facilitation process is essential. So if the job of the market is to facilitate trade, auction market theory is all about understanding how trade facilitation takes place. Other things that will really help you gain a great understanding of the market and understand context is value. Understanding where value has been found. Where are market participants perceiving the market to have found value? Now, this is not necessarily just on a conscious level. The reason value exists in the market is not because everybody is using market profile, volume profile to find value in the market. The likelihood of that is probably very slim. Most market participants don't even know what market profile and volume profile is. Most traders involved in the trading business don't even know what value is. Okay? Now, if you come from the perspective of auction market theory principles and you understand volume profiling and market profile, value is a key concept. Now, there are some schools of thought that will teach auction market theory and market profiling, volume profiling, that will ignore the concept of value. Value is a key foundation of the way that I do business. Okay, it provides me something very important to my trading business. It helps me understand where people are accepting this market, and it also helps me understand where they are most likely to do business and where they are most likely to take the market from and to. I personally feel, and this is only my belief and my opinion, I personally feel that it's essential to understand value if you're going to understand low volume areas and high volume areas and trade acceptance and rejection. Okay, there are some schools of thoughts that will teach market profile and volume profiling purely understanding just acceptance and rejection. There is nothing wrong with that, but the way that I trade it, you do have to understand the concept of value and understand where value has traded and been found. Now, the concept of value is very simple. What is the concept of value, guys? Where is value found? How is it proven to us when we look at value on the chart? Most of you guys know the answer to this, so I just want to test you guys as well and keep you engaged in the presentation today. How do we know where value has been found? Technically, what happens to define value? Value is where most of the volume occurs, and how much volume trades to define value for us. All of you guys are right there. It's a high volume area. It's generally where most of the volume occurs, and it's also where traders agree on price. It's horizontal development, so trading sideways. Yeah, that's it. Spot on, David. It's where 70% of the volume occurs. So now, technically, the way we define where value is where 70% of the volume has traded. Now, that's typically the traditional way to define value, where 70% of volume trades. Now, this is based upon volume, and I focus more on volume rather than the time-based market profiling concepts, which I think it's very important for me to distinguish from right now for any of you guys that are new to this and the way that I use market profile and volume profile. The fact that most of you guys are here today, I'm assuming that most of you guys understand the way that I look at volume profiling and market profile. It does differ from some of the ways that the pioneers of market profiling may look at things. Okay, and that's purely because I have done what I urge you guys to do. I have taken the key concepts. I've understood things very well from a simplistic point of view, but I've taken those key concepts and understood them really well and made them my own. That's what I want you guys to do. So there is, I love Jim Dolden and James Dolden, same person. Okay, I love the work that has been done. I love the book or the books, Mind Over Markets, Markets and Profile. Great books, and if you haven't read them, I do recommend you read them because the theory is spot on. It's pretty much just walks hand in hand with what I do. However, the technical approach differs. The technical application of the theory differs. with the way James Dalton applies it, the way that Stoudemire applies it. And Peter Stoudemire developed the market profile. He created the market profile, and it's now a trademark of the Chicago Board of Trade. It was developed in 1989. But volume profiling is nothing new. Market profiling is nothing new. The concept of value, the concept of acceptance and rejection is nothing new. Okay, the market profile is a tool that helps you read that really well. Okay, it helps you read the concepts of auction market theory. Auction market theory is not anything new. Okay, it's basically what all markets are based upon and how they trade. All markets. So the concept of value is important. Do understand that, and I use it. And I look at value as where 70% of trade has taken place. So it's based upon volume and not time. Dalton generally focuses on time, TPOs, time price opportunities. And in the past, on some of the seminars that I've done, I also focus on the TPOs as well. But I, do highlight that, volume is what I'm more interested in. And it's important to understand that I'm not going to cover the TPOs now because I feel they are not so important, and I feel that everybody should just focus on volume. Now, I had to understand that myself going through the journey as well. Okay, I don't feel you need to know where TPOs are and where time is developing as much as where volume is. Volume is much more important. Okay, so do understand that moving on. Okay, so you will find different schools of thought, different ways of applying auction market theory principles. Okay, and actually I want you guys to find your own way of applying the concepts as well and make it your own. But what I'm going to teach you today is my level of understanding of it, my beliefs about how to apply it, and learn from that. Now, the next thing we've got to understand is the characteristics of balanced and imbalanced markets, which is a natural occurrence within the auction market theory framework. A balanced market is a sideways market, an imbalanced market is a trending market. Very simple, but we do have to understand the characteristics of balanced and imbalanced markets. Why? Because we need to understand what? We need to understand when the market is moving sideways and balanced, so that we know how to trade it within that situation. How you approach a balanced market is different to how you approach an imbalanced market. So again, it comes back to context. Okay, so we need to know when the market is balanced, and we need to understand the characteristics of balanced markets. We need to know when the market is imbalanced. We need to understand the characteristics of imbalanced markets. The reason being is because that will define how we trade. Right, does that make sense, guys? Let's move on. Right, we're going to cover auction market theory now. I've been talking for about an hour now. Let's take a quick 5-minute break and we continue. It looks like I might have just lost someone there, so I might just take the time to just check my emails, etc., see if anyone's having any problem there. But please stick around, grab yourself a drink, and we'll continue very quickly. We'll give it a 5-minute break. So every hour and a half, we'll take a 5-minute break. We are just getting started, guys, so do understand that I will be covering some basic theory first before we start moving on to some of the more important so actually it's the other way around. This is the more important stuff. The technical stuff and how you do stuff is dependent on how well you've understood the basics. So it's really important to go through the theory and the basics again and again and again, even if you've covered it before. Right, guys, okay, let's continue. So we just covered some basics there, basic framework for the way that I do business and trade, and the way that I would like for you guys to develop a way of thinking and understand the markets. Now, auction market theory. I'm sure there are many different ways to understand auction market theory as well. Okay, so I've broken it down into a very, very simple way of understanding what the market is doing, and also understanding how the market works. I'll just do a quick sound check again, guys. I'm not quite sure who's logging in and out there, but just want to make sure that they're not having any problems. All good, thank you very much, guys. Right, so auction market theory. How are you guys finding the presentation? It looks pretty neat, right? A little bit different to your standard PowerPoint presentation. And you guys will get a copy of this. You guys will get a link, and you guys can actually watch a presentation online. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So wait till you see this bit. So auction market theory. This is pretty much as bad as simple as auction market theory gets, and I think it's about as effective as it gets in terms of understanding it. So auction market theory, basically, as we've all already established, what is the job of the market? The job of the market is to facilitate trade. Auction market theory is a way of understanding how that actually happens. I'll say that again. The job of the market is to facilitate trade. Auction market theory is about understanding how that process actually happens. Right? Very simplistic, but almost every almost every market profile trader that I have found trying to understand this stuff doesn't understand auction market theory as well as they should. And the thing is, it's almost impossible to apply market profile, which is just the tool, or volume profile, if you don't understand the basis of auction market theory. And this was a major aha moment for me when I first started to learn how to trade with market profile. Market profile, just as many of you guys probably did yourself, you looked out at the chart and thought, okay, how do I apply this in my trading? I'm used to bar charts. All I can see is letters on the screen. How do I trade this? Where's the signal? Where's the setup? Okay, well, firstly, you don't get a signal and a setup for market profile. Secondly, then you begin to understand, okay, this is a way of organizing information. How do I make sense of it so I can trade with it? Now, I don't know how it worked for you guys, but for me, it didn't make sense for me. Now, I read Mind Over Markets by James Dalton. I read that book probably 3 or 4 times, and I just didn't get it. Okay? And most of you guys that have been in the trading room from the beginning will know when I was reading that book, I understood some of the concepts, but I just didn't get it completely. Okay? Now, what really helped me understand things was reading the Chicago Board of Trade's handbook. And that covers auction market theory in the first and second chapter in quite some detail. And when you understand that fully, then you can actually understand the rest of it with pretty much no problem. I don't know if anybody else found the same, but if you haven't read the Chicago Board of Trade handbook, which is a free PDF document which you can get from now it's a CME website, used to be on the Chicago Board of Trade website, but since the CME and the Chicago Board of Trade merge, you can download that from the CME website. Okay, if you go to education, look up market profile, you'll find under the resources section the PDF document. If anybody doesn't have it, just drop me an email. I can drop you the document. Okay. Now, for me, this is personally how it worked. It may not work the same way for you, but just give you a bit of history. That's how it worked for me. Okay. Now, I understood auction market theory from understanding the basics from the Chicago Board of Trade handbook. Okay. Now, this is pretty much what it comes down to me. Auction market theory is all about understanding how the trade facilitation process works. We all understand the markets are an auction, and if you don't, make note of that right now. Every market, whether it's the E-mini S&P, whether it's the Dow, whether it's gold, crude oil, any agricultural product, whether it's a commodity, whether it's interest rate derivative, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, every market is an auction. Okay, that's the first presupposition that you need to accept. Okay, every market is an auction, and every market auctions in order to facilitate trade, and price is the advertising mechanism to make that happen. Okay, or that allows for that process to take place. So let's look at trade facilitation in more detail. Trade facilitation is very simple. The demand from the buyers causes the market to push higher. The supply from the sellers pushes the market lower. It's known as a dual auction process. The market moves higher until the buyers are not interested in buying higher prices, and then the sellers start to cut off those buyers, and then the market moves lower until the market cannot find enough sellers or aggressive selling behavior to cause the market to push lower, and the buyers then cut off those sellers, and then we go through the process again. So the market typically does this. That's why we say it's rotational in nature. So the nature of the market to do this. Buyers demand. Okay, they keep buying and keep accepting higher prices until what? The buying, the demand filters out. It is met by the opposite force. The opposite force being supply from the sellers, and then the sellers take over. They become more aggressive than the buyers. Now, I want everybody to understand that trading is, from a tick-by-tick basis, a zero-sum game. But, however, there are two opposing forces, buyers and sellers. Although for every seller there is a buyer, for every buyer there is a seller, there is something we call aggressive behavior. And this is what I'm going to go into in more detail tomorrow with the order flow. But do understand, it's the behavior and how aggressive that behavior is that causes the market to move. Okay, directionally. The market will move higher, buyers lifting the offers and buyers putting bids in the market. So buyers will buy in two ways. They will either put bids in the market or they will lift the offers. So it's just like us going in with a limit order on the bid or lifting the offer if we go in that market. Now sellers will do business in two ways as well. They will either put an offer on the offering price, the asking price, or they will hit the bid to get short right now. Okay. Now, what causes the market to actually move aggressively higher and lower is the sequence of this trade facilitation process and how it actually happens in the moment. If buyers keep lifting the offer whilst buyers keep absorbing the selling with new bids, then the market keeps moving higher. If the sellers keep putting in offers that keeps absorbing the demand that's trying to buy the market and also is following through with selling, hitting the bid at sequentially lower prices, the market pushes lower. Right? Does everybody understand that basic concept? The market basically moves higher until, let's just look at it as demand and supply in terms of, because there's actually no such thing as more buyers than sellers or more sellers than buyers. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. What does exist is balance and imbalance. Okay, and I'll talk about that in more detail now. So there is such a thing as buying imbalance and selling imbalance, and that's what causes the market to move directionally. Okay, but the general job of the market is to facilitate trade. So what does it do in order to do that? It advertises price. Okay, market participants do business, buyers keep buying until they meet the opposing force, the sellers keep selling until they meet the opposing force, and what causes the market to pretty much just become rotational, move sideways. This is what we call an efficient market. So when we find a market doing this, balancing and trading sideways, it's what we call efficiency. Efficiency, why? Because the job of the market is to facilitate trade. When does it facilitate trade best? When we have two-sided trade. Okay? When we have two-sided trade, when we establish a range where buyers and sellers can agree around a range of prices to do business. This is what creates value or acceptance. So typically, the major focus for us should be to find efficiency phases and phases where the market is doing its job best. And that is basically, in its most simplest form, found when the market is moving sideways and trading around what I call value, and is balanced. Okay, balanced market and a sideways market, the same thing. Imbalanced market, a trending market, same thing. Just different terminology to explain the same thing. Right? So the trade facilitation process is very simple. And this is how we find efficiency in the marketplace. This is the market at its most efficient point when we have balance. However, there will be times where the market participants' perception of what is fair value changes. And this causes buyers to start buying at higher prices or keep buying at higher prices. Alternatively, sellers to sell at lower prices and keep selling at lower prices and not be met by the opposite force. This is where we find excess demand, excess supply. So, whereas most traders, when they approach trading, they are looking for trends and they are looking for imbalance, we as auction market theory traders have to understand that it's a very rare occurrence. Some markets trend more than others. That is true, okay, from an intraday perspective. However, if you look at the bigger, wider context, most markets are balanced more often than not. Okay, and auction market theory traders, as market profile, volume profile traders, we have to believe that the market, and it's been proven to me through experience. Again, I'm sure it has to be most of you as well, that the market is balanced more than 80% of the time. It is. Okay, you look at any market, yes, there will be phases where we start a trend, but it doesn't take long before the market finds balance again. And that's from any time frame. From an intraday perspective, you'll find balance and imbalance. You'll find balance and imbalance occurring from a wider perspective. On a daily chart, you'll see the market is balanced. We spend most of the year balanced, and a lot of traders don't see this. We might be trending up and down with imbalance, like we was from August up until December 2011. Okay. And before that, we was trading balance on the E-mini S&P, and I'm talking specifically about the E-mini S&P here. We was balanced on the E-mini S&P from the beginning of January all the way up until August 2011. So we do spend a significant amount of time balanced. On the Euro stocks, we were balanced since the beginning of 2009 right up until August 2011. So that's a long time we're balanced. Okay, then imbalance occurred for about 2 weeks in August, and then we become balanced again. How does pure speculation fit into the model? Well, speculation is about understanding what the market may do next. And my model, what I'm teaching you right now, is about understanding what the market may do next. So speculation is about understanding what the market may do next. You know, the market moving sideways over a bigger picture doesn't mean there isn't any opportunity there for speculation. Now, I'm talking about the market balance, for example, in a range. Let's just take the E-mini S&P, for example, might be a 20-point range. We might be in there for 2 weeks. Now, we can speculate around that model, no problem, right? Not a huge problem if you're a speculator. That's exactly what we do. So exactly, that's what we're about. Now, I'm a speculator. I'm not looking to trade a spread here. Now, of course, you can go into other trading models and you can start looking to trade spreads, and of course you can start looking to trade options, and some traders will look to trade options around this kind of model, and some of you guys here I know right now are actually trading options using these similar setups. But I don't trade options, I'm trading futures, and I am a speculator. So what I'm actually going to show you, Peter, is actually how to speculate around this model. Absolutely, that's exactly what it's all about. I am a speculator. Okay, it will become a lot clearer as time goes by. So I'm sure you're probably quite new to this at this point in time. That's probably why but it's a very good question. Okay, but you will see how this all fits together. So yeah, I mean, people don't care about value. Consciously, that might be the case, but unconsciously, everybody cares about value. Okay, why? Because isn't it true, even if you're a speculator, that you want to buy at a lower price and sell at a higher price? Isn't it true if you're a speculator that you want to sell at a higher price and buy at a lower price to profit? Right? Well, how do you know if you are buying at a lower price and selling at a higher price if you have no concept of value? How do you know? If you have no concept of how valuable that product is and how much it's possibly worth, or how much people have seen it to be worth or proven for it to be worth, how do you have anything to go on to do business around? Right? You don't, right? Really, you don't. So even on an unconscious level, some people say, oh, I don't care about value, but actually they do, because at the end of the day, do you not care about buying at lower price and selling at higher prices? So how do you know you're buying at a lower price and the market may go up? You've obviously got some level of understanding of value, whether you believe it or not, right? So, you know, you got to take it from that point of view as well. So everybody has the concept of value, whether they understand it or not. Everybody, every trader, especially speculators. Okay. So when we see the excess demand or supply, what happens? We see imbalance. Imbalance is basically a trending market. The market goes into a trend, and this is what we actually call from the when we go back to the purpose of the market. The purpose of the market is to facilitate trade. This is when we see inefficiency. Inefficiency from the purpose of the market. Inefficiency is occurring when two-sided trade is not being met. When the demand is not being met by sellers, we now have inefficiency. Price is moving directionally. We can't allow, the market cannot allow for that to happen forever, because we can't have a market where there are just buyers. We can't have a market where there are just sellers. We have to find the opposite force, and we have to give them a good enough reason to do business. So the market's job is to be fair. It is to find those areas where those traders will be brought back in again, to create what we call the market. So it's not right for the market to trend. That's why we call it inefficiency. Okay, if you take into consideration the purpose of the market. Right? So when we become inefficient, when we see inefficiency and the market starts to trend and we see these drops out of value or pushes outside of value, what happens? The market finds value again, looks for balance again. I mean, we saw it again. I'm using E-mini S&P as an example because most of you guys are room members or follow the E-mini S&P in the trading room or trade the E-mini S&P. But every market, it doesn't matter. Okay, crude oil has been balanced over the last year. Okay, probably longer. I can't remember exactly how long. But every market, you'll see balance and imbalance. E-mini S&P was balanced when we saw the Euro stocks. Like I said, it was balanced for 2 years. 2 years plus, and then we became imbalanced for literally about 2 weeks, and then we started to find balance again over August, September, October. We've only really got out of that range in the earlier part of this year. Okay, and then we started to form a new area of value. So whenever we become imbalanced, it doesn't take long for the market to find balance again, because it has to. At the end of the day, it has to. The market has to stay efficient. It has to facilitate trade, and the only way it's going to facilitate trade if it comes back into balance again and finds two-sided trade. So this is the basics for auction market theory. Does this make sense, guys? The basics you have to understand, and really you'll see it time and time again. We see it all the time. Whenever the market becomes imbalanced, it finds balance again. It's without a doubt we'll find balance again. We will find value at some point. And if you think about it, if you understand the purpose of the market, it has to be found. The job of the market is to find it. And therefore that makes that the job of the market participants. So we talk about imbalance and balance. The easiest way to visualize this is what we would call is a seesaw or a scale, a balance scale, right? It's very simple. If the supply, and I want you guys to see demand and supply as behavior, not necessarily more selling or more buying. Okay? See it as behavior. If the market participants' behavior is more aggressive on getting short, then we would have forces imbalance towards the downside. If, of course, it was skewed to the other side, if the market participants' behavior was skewed towards providing more demand, then we would see the forces imbalance towards the upside. The market will be trending higher. However, as we said, that doesn't last for generally that long. It's usually short-lived and we find balance again. And typically, this is what we will find. Markets are balanced. We'll have an equal amount of demand, equal amount of supply. This is good enough. This is the most efficient structure for us to do business around. most days as day traders, actually it doesn't matter what time frame you trade from, but most of us are day traders. If we're looking at day trading, most days we can trade on both sides of the market. It's a very rare situation when the market is trending on a daily basis, in the way that I see it, from the perspective of auction market theory principles. Very rarely. And we see it time and time again in the trader room, once, maybe twice a month, and that's usually the maximum we see that. And I often stay out on those days because I find it poor business buying on a pullback, selling in a bounce in a trending market when there is when I'm going for the kind of objectives that I'm looking for. Now you can trade those, and there is a way to trade those, and I'll cover that over today and tomorrow. And this is more of the adapting to that phase. But I want everyone to grow towards being focused on being more responsive in trading around value, and understanding by the end of tomorrow that that is the best way to do business, and understand that that is where you will find the best opportunities with the best risk reward. Okay, let's keep moving on. Okay, there's three main elements of an auction: price, time, and volume. Now, most traders will focus on price, and it's the fastest moving variable, and it's often the most misleading. And we saw it the other day. We had a big down move, and we had our extensions on the other side, and I said, look, we've had this down move, the European session been selling off, the US market looks like it's going to continue to sell off, but I remember what we trade as auction market theory traders and understand the market's job is to facilitate trade. We have to see this as a price advertising mechanism, where a lot of traders that are less informed and understand the market not as well may be more likely to be sucked into, there's been a big down move, let's get in, let's start shorting. And what I often say on those days is, okay, now this is what them guys are going to be thinking. Now we need to be thinking outside of the box. Let them be selling and we'll be buying from them, because we need to be thinking alongside the longer time frame market participants, the longer time frame players, the institutions, where they are going to be finding advantageous prices for trading around. And this is what you've got to see all of this as a model of understanding what the longer time frame market participants may be doing, where they might be finding advantageous prices, and that's where we want to be interested in trading. There is nothing wrong with trading short-term trends and maybe scalping in short-term trends, okay, intraday, and there is nothing wrong with trend trading. Okay, I want everybody to, I want to make that clear right now. There is nothing wrong with trend trading, and actually by the end of tomorrow I'll show you how to trend trade with actually what we've understood here as well, but within the right context. Okay, we're gaining understanding right now, where rather than step one is a very premature phase in understanding the full model here. Okay, so everyone will have questions, and I'm sure most of them will be answered by the end of tomorrow. Now, pricing is really important in reference to the auction market theory principles, because it helps facilitate trade. It's the advertising mechanism. It's what brings in business. Price advertising higher and lower is what brings in the market participants. That's where the opportunity is found, by seeing price. Now, time is what regulates price over the time of the auction. Now, the time of the auction could be 1 day, could be over 2 days, could be over 3 weeks, okay, could be over a month, could be over a year, okay. So over that period of time, how well that price is being traded is established over time. How well certain prices have been accepted and rejected is established over time. The longer the time frame we take into consideration, the more important the information. Right? the longer we trade around a range of prices, the greater the chance that we're going to bring in a wider market, a wider audience, a wider perspective of market participants. So time is essential. The market has to trade price over time in order to establish information about those prices. Price, you have to see, is the it's the advertising mechanism, but it helps the market establish information about those prices. Now, how do we understand the information about those prices? It's through volume. How do we know which prices, when advertised, were successful in the advertisement? How do we understand which prices, when advertised, were unsuccessful in the advertisement? Now, as auction market theory traders, you have to trade volume more so than price. Price itself can be misleading. If price is trading higher and it's not being accepted, that's a good reason to be shorting it. Price moving higher doesn't mean buy. Price moving lower doesn't mean sell. Now, traders that will typically just trade price and time will approach the market in that two-dimensional format. They only have that two-dimensional perspective. Now, with price, time, and volume, we have that three-dimensional, and I would even go as far as saying a multi-dimensional market perspective, because we can now not only see where price is over time, but we can also see how much volume is actually trading at those prices. And if we remember that volume defines how well prices have been accepted, as well as it defines how well prices have been rejected, we will then be able to see how important certain prices are and start to gain a perspective of understanding where the market may go from and to. Now, when we put some visuals in a perspective, this will make a hell of a lot more sense. Now, the next thing we have to understand is the market participants. We all have to be fully aware that there are multiple perspectives in the market, multiple different ways to approach the market, and there are definitely lots of different ways to trade the market successfully. Okay, so I'm in no way saying, the way that I trade or the way that I'm teaching you guys to trade is the only way to trade, and that's why I want you guys to take the level of understanding on board and create your own methods, even your own ways of applying that information. But you do have to understand that there are multiple perceptions of the market, because everyone's perception is based upon what? Belief. And our beliefs are all different based upon past experiences, past memories, based upon our values, our attitudes. We filter our perceptions constantly in every day of our lives. We all look at the same market and see it in a different way. But why? Because we all believe different things about that market. So I often say we have to trade the beliefs of market participants. And often what we're trading here with the auction market theory principles is the unconscious belief of the market participants. Not only just conscious beliefs about the market. We are trading a lot of the time unconscious beliefs about the market. Generally, markets that are too high will attract sellers. Markets that are too low will attract buyers. It's just like shopping, right? We like to buy at wholesale prices. We like to sell at premium prices. Right? It's the markets are no different. Like I said, there's only really two ways you can make money in the market. You can buy low and sell higher. You can sell high and buy lower. Doesn't matter how you trade. If you're a speculator, that's how you make money, right? Now, there is obviously the other side of this. Okay, we have the hedgers and the spreaders. Okay, hedgers is more from a longer time frame perspective, but spreading and hedging is very much the same thing, right? If anybody's not familiar with spreading, what is spreading? It's basically taking the opposite trade in a closely related market or the same market with a calendar spread. Okay, so spreading is usually done through the use of calendar spreads. For example, we saw it this week as I was covering rollover, and I was covering the order flow as it was happening, because people were selling June and buying March, or they were buying March and then selling June, and we could see that on the order flow. On a micro perspective, generally the market's moved in the same direction afterwards, but We can see from a micro perspective the spreading taking place. So generally spreads, most of you guys that are prop traders will know what spreading is, and most of you guys that are traders for hedge funds will definitely be familiar with hedging. So, do understand that not everybody trades buying low to sell high and selling high to buy low. There are traders that make money in the markets that has nothing to do with direction. They will buy the June E-mini S&P and sell the September E-mini S&P, and they will look to profit from the difference in the spread, the difference in prices, irrelevant of whether the market's going up or down. Then you have traders that will be trading butterfly spreads on, say, the Bund Bobble and the Schatz, the interest rate derivatives. Then you will have traders that are trading the crack spreads. So there's all sorts of different spreads. I'm not going to go into those different models, but I do understand there are people that are profiting from the market, not necessarily just from directional moves. Okay. Then we have arbitrage, which is profiting from the inefficiencies in the market between the bid-ask spreads. Okay, a lot of that goes on in the pit. Okay, and now a lot of the algorithmic systems that trade, and this is why we have a lot of spoofing on the bids and the offers, because the arbitrage. There's a lot of it's done by algos these days, and probably 70% of the volume that we see on the markets or more is that actually taking place. It's the high frequency trading between the bid-ask spreads, trying to profit from those inefficiencies in the market between the bid-ask spread. So you've got to understand that, firstly, not everybody trades the way you do. Not everybody sees the market the way you do. Okay, but there is a model that helps you understand how most people or most market participants do business, and understand what may be too high and what may be too low for most market participants. And that's the model of auction market theory and trading around the concepts of value. Now, we also have to understand there are differing participants, different kinds of traders, not necessarily just trading in different ways, but different kinds of traders. We have the investment banks, the institutional activity. That's where most of the money comes into the market. That's where all the big positions come in. That's what really makes the markets move. What are the institutions doing? Then we have the hedge funds. Okay, and the way that I want you to look at this is generally, I'll put this as a funnel here. Okay, this is the funnel, and here's you right at the bottom. The way this is supposed to be a metaphor here. Okay, this is supposed to be a metaphor here. You've got to be, if this is your mind, this is the way you are thinking, right up here. This funnel is to represent everything that's coming into your mindset. Okay, everything that you are thinking and believing about the market. Everything that you are thinking and believing about the market should be based upon what you think everybody else up here is doing. Okay, now you're not going to be consciously sitting there thinking, okay, what are speculators doing? Okay, what are hedgers and spreaders doing right now? Let me have a think. Okay, that's not what I mean. Use this as a metaphor. It's what I'm trying to get across here is, okay, you need to be taking that perspective. Okay, what is the majority thinking? Okay, what is the majority thinking? And most importantly, where is the institutional activity going to be seeing opportunity here? Okay, where is the institutional traders going to be finding opportunity here? Where are they most likely to be pumping in some funds here, pumping in some capital in this market? And that's when the longer time frame perspective comes in. The longer term perspective generally brings in the cash flow and brings in the longer time frame players. Now, on a micro perspective, we'll have the professional prop traders scalping away, trading against each other within 5-10 tick ranges, 6 tick ranges, 2 to 3 tick ranges. Okay, some of you guys that are prop traders, you know how it works out there, right? I'm a prop trader myself, as you guys know, right? And a lot of it's scalping, a lot of it's spreading. And then we have the public retail trader down here, generally the lower volume, smaller traders, but really generally looking to make sense of the market, jumping on the back of what the bigger players are doing. Okay, I've often said I'm a fly on the back of the elephant. Okay, but I need to understand when the elephant's going to move before I jump on the back of the elephant. Right, and that's what it's all about. You're not trying to play against these guys. They are your competition. But you're not going to take out you're not going to move the market. I'm not going to move the market. You might do on certain markets, yes. I'm not going to say, but one of us alone is not going to move the market. Maybe for a tick or two if we're trading a few thousand contracts or 100 contracts per tick, you know, yes, we might cause the market to uptick. We might lift the offers if there's 26 there. We might lift the offers if there's 1,000 there and buy 1,000 contracts. Okay, yes, okay, wow, we're going to move the market one tick, but we're not looking for that. Okay, we're looking to move the market. We're looking for the markets generally. Most of us are looking for the markets to move quite significantly so we can get a good risk to reward. Right? So do understand there are differing market participants. Everybody in the market, there's thousands of market participants all trading in different ways. You're not going to possibly understand every single different way there is to trade. So, you know, we've got to understand a model that takes into consideration pricing, time, and volume, and is able to make sense of this in a way that's easy for us to spot where the opportunities are. Because we can't physically sit there consciously trying to figure out what everybody is trying to do. But what we can do is have a good understanding of what the longer time frame players, the higher volume traders, are likely to be trading around, what prices they are likely to be finding advantages. Okay, by understanding fair prices and understanding what are unfair prices. Now, of course, there are different kinds of traders. We have algos, a lot of high frequency trading these days. We see it on the depth of market. I'll cover some of that tomorrow. We have the discretionary traders. We have the more systematic traders. So discretionary trading is what I do. I like to understand what's going on. I need to try to figure out what's going on, make sense of it, and then depending on how well I've understood what's going on, I trade that level of understanding. System traders are a little bit different. They will say, okay, I've back tested this. This model seems to be 70% profitable. So basically, if I just keep taking every trade the system gives me, I should personally be about 70% profitable, because based upon past performance, that's what it's proven to show. Nothing wrong with that. 70% profitability is quite good. Okay. And I'm going to be looking at a general risk to reward ratio of this. But it's more so trading a model that's been back tested and saying, okay, this model's been back tested, it worked in the past, so, and it's relying on the fact that it's going to work in the future. Now, in most cases, they will. Okay, most system traders fall into issues when they stop following the system. Okay, nothing wrong with system trading. It works if you find a good system. And in most cases with systems, you do have to modify them. You do have to adapt them to market situations, because volatility shifts, markets change. Now, the thing with discretionary trading is, if you understand what's going on, you can always adapt. For example, last year, August 2011, I was trading the DAX a hell of a lot, probably for 3 or 4 years prior to that, probably 4 years, okay? And then as soon as the volatility shifted, the bid-ask spread went about 5 to 6 ticks wide, and the market went from 100, 200 tick ranges to 800 to 1,000 tick range all of a sudden. Volatility went massively, it increased massively. Okay, now, I still traded that market whilst the transition happened for about 2 or 3 days. And I said, okay, I'm adapting. The Euro Stoxx says it's got good volatility, it's got good liquidity. I'm not going to trade the DAX now. The bid-ask spread it's poor. I can't get into this market. It's moving. I would normally get into this market with a 10 tick stop and do pretty good with it. Now I have to be taking there's a 6 or 7 tick, 8 tick spread at times just trying to get into the market. So let's adapt. I can understand what's going on. I can see what's going on. Logical common sense says move. Okay, trade something else. Now, I was trading the Euro Stoxx. I have been trading the Euro Stoxx. I've been trading the E-mini S&P. And coming into January, it turned out that it became a little bit slow on the Euro Stoxx. So I then started to focus a little bit more on the Eurobond again. So I'm adapting to the markets. But my business plan is designed around trading the DAX, the Euro Stoxx, and the Bund in the morning. And it's designed around trading the E-mini S&P and the Nasdaq in the afternoons. And that's what I trade in the trading room, the E-mini S&P. Right? So, but I have to still adapt. The thing is, in trading, adapting is essential. The market conditions are never always the same. Now, the setups and signals may be the same, but volatility increases and decreases. That means your risk-reward parameters will increase and decrease. So if you are to trade systems, you have to make sure that you're increasing risk and reward as and when required. And most of the best systems will take into consideration volatility. And most of the best discretionary traders will take into consideration volatility. So do understand that there are multiple different ways to trade. Now we have to take the perspective here where we can understand not what everybody is doing, but understand where the main players are doing business. Where are they likely to be attracted? That's what we're interested in, right? We're interested in where are the main players likely to do business, and understand not only where, but understand why. Understand why might they be interested in this area for doing business. Why does it logically make sense? At the end of the day, you can't have belief in doing something if you don't understand why it makes sense. So a huge important factor for the rest of today and tomorrow is to understand why things happen. And never take a trade if you don't understand why things are happening. Because if you don't understand the why and the what is happening, you will have no belief and confidence in the trade. Now, systematic traders have to rely and believe in the system. Discretionary traders believe in the market and what it's doing right now. Big difference. Okay, does that make sense, guys? So you do have to believe in what the market is doing. You have to understand what the market is doing, understand why it's doing what it's doing. It's a different mindset, as I said, to trading a system, where you're just going to say, okay, this works this many, this often based upon past experience. Now, based upon that, I'm going to take this trade because the system should look after itself. Discretionary trading is different, right? Good. Simon, you're the only one that gets this. Come on, guys. Got to make sure everybody's on the same page here. Good. Okay. Let's move on to balanced markets. We will be moving on to charts and spending quite a bit of time on the charts today. And I would like you guys to be getting a lot more involved and asking me questions, etc. But some theory first. Like I said, you won't know how to do what you need to do if you don't understand the why and what. Balanced markets. What are the characteristics of balanced markets? Sideways price action swings, right? So I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with sideways price action swings. I'll be very surprised if you're not. But basically prices is just doing this. Okay? Moving sideways. Might have a little extension either side, but either way, it's still pretty much sideways, right? Hi guys, sorry about that. Looks like the sound went off. Okay, so balanced markets. What are the characteristics of balanced markets? Characteristics of balanced markets: sideways price action swings. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with price action moving sideways. Moves like that. Sometimes you'll get sideways movement, a little bit of extension one side, price advertisement above and below, and that's just checking to see who's there, a bit of a stop run, etc., which I'm moving into tomorrow as well and today. But basically, that's a sideways market. Okay? Price is moving sideways. Now, what do we often see when price moves sideways? Well, what actually causes price to move sideways? That's probably more important. Okay? Well, price moves sideways because most of the acceptance is in that range of prices. So that's why the price keeps coming back into that area and trading around that area. So again, it comes back to efficiency. It comes back to trade facilitation. If we find that trade is being facilitated efficiently in a certain range of prices, let's just say we've got a price range of 10 to 100, excuse my writing. We're trading around that. Okay. The fairest prices are in the middle of the range. So now if the price keeps trading around there, keeps spending time in the middle of that range, what are we most likely to see? We're going to see the market's going to be distributing most of its volume in this range as well, in this area. So volume will trade where the market spends most of its time in most cases. Okay. Not all of the time, because if you look at the overnight auction for the E-mini S&P, for example, the market will spend a lot of time in certain places. This is why when you look at the TPO profile, it looks quite different to a volume profile. So now if you are looking at just TPOs, which is time price opportunities, which are the letters on the market profile chart, which I'll go into, you'll recognize that, you know, the market has spent a lot of time there, and most market profile traders that will look at just time and TPOs will say, okay, there's acceptance there. But if you look at volume, a lot of the time you'll recognize that actually there wasn't a lot of volume there. So the market spent a lot of time there, but there's no volume. So generally, we want to see the market spending some time in an area, but also building volume to show us that it's accepting. If you think about a sideways market, what is it doing? It's trading sideways. It's spending time there, and therefore, it's usually trading a lot of volume in the middle of that range as well. Okay. Again, it's not a complicated thing to understand. It's very much common sense if you put it in its most simplistic terms. So, you know, I'm just putting in this in layman terms. Market spends a lot of time somewhere. Market generally should be trading some decent volume in that area. So the fact that it's spending time there has to do with the fact that people are accepting it. People are accepting those prices, keeps the market there, and therefore actually causes it to spend time there. And those two things, volume and time coming together, is what actually keeps price there, right? So acceptance keeps price in a range bound phase. What we will often find around balanced markets is that longer time frame participants will generally find the price extremes most advantageous for trade location. Generally, purely because longer time frame participants are looking at wider ranges. So if we have a tight range in the middle of where we are moving sideways, generally the shorter time frame players are going to be doing business in there because it's a tighter range. If we have some extensions outside of the range, up or down, okay, this is generally where we'll find the advantageous trade location, these areas, for sellers and buyers from a longer time frame perspective. Now I'll come a little bit more clearer as you guys will see some of the charts and some of the drawings that I have, the diagrams. So what this causes, therefore, is an appearance of rejection at the unfair highs and lows of the range as the longer time frame participants snap up those good deals quickly. Now again, this comes back to, just think of it as you are shopping. You're shopping for a good deal. You go to the supermarket, things are on sale, half price discounts. What are you most likely to do? Snap up those opportunities quite quickly, right? What are most people that go to that supermarket likely to do? Take what's on sale, right? So what's on sale doesn't usually last that long, okay? Usually that supply is gone because those opportunities are snapped up quickly. Same with the market. Market trades lower in a sideways balanced market in efficient structure. Longer time frame players see those prices that are lower, say for example this kind of price advertisement, as a good deal. They're going to snap it up quickly. So what happens is we will see low volume trade there, low volume, because the market doesn't spend time there. The market doesn't get a chance to spend time there because the people that see that as a great opportunity snap it up quickly. Okay, same thing on the other side. Now if you're a seller, let's say you are the retailer, you are the supermarket. Now if you've got opportunity to sell at higher prices, you're going to sell as much as you possibly can up there quite quickly. Okay, same thing. Very simple way of understanding things, but that's how the markets work. People are doing business based upon what they find to be low and high, and that's why you got to see the market. Right, does that make sense, guys? Obviously this is all going to be made much clearer as time goes by, but these are very simple basic concepts, but always good to go over again even if you do understand them. But understanding this is going to help you understand why the market does what it does. So it's really important to understand that this is the characteristics of this kind of market, a balanced sideways trading market, because that's actually what you would trade most of the time. So, you know, this is generally what it looks like. So of course, this is just a drawing. We'll have a look at some real examples and go back to some charts and have a look at what's been happening over some recent auctions. But generally we see price moves low, pushes higher, buyers keep buying until they don't want to buy anymore. Why do buyers stop buying firstly? That's probably a good thing to consider. Why would buyers be less interested up here? And why would they be more interested down here? Anybody want to give me some answers? Why would buyers be more interested down in this area, 1, okay, point 1, than say point 2? Let's get some answers. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's all right. Perception of value. Okay, so and even if it's not a perception of value, if nobody even understands market profile, volume profile, no one understanding about, yeah, it's a perception, right? So they still see lower prices, right? Buyers want lower prices, absolutely. So why wouldn't they want to buy maybe when the market's already started to move higher? Because they think, okay, I'm going to end up buying high here. More than likely, you know, the market's going to pull back again if I start buying here. So ideally, I want to buy on a pullback. Ideally, I want to buy when the market retraces. That's how most people think. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much above retail price, right? The retail price will probably be somewhere here in the middle, okay, which we call the volume point of control, the highest volume price, okay, which we'll consider as well. But basically, what we've got to say here is this is unfair for the buyers. If we are trading sideways and the market is sideways and it's already balanced, or it looks like it's becoming balanced, which is something that we'll have to also consider. Okay, we have to assume that buyers coming back into a price swing high are going to be finding those prices less advantageous and unfair, but there will be advantages for the sellers. And if we come back lower after a swing up, now if this has been the action, we've seen a swing up, couldn't take out that high there. We had a swing down, couldn't take out this low here. Had a swing back up again, couldn't take out that high again. That itself is the market telling you, okay, buyers didn't want to buy past that point. That's why they got cut off. Not once, but twice. Sellers didn't want to sell past this point at low prices, and that's why they got cut off. So taking into consideration the dual auction process, we have actually found efficiency. Because the purpose of the market is to facilitate trade, and it facilitates trade when we have this dual auction process. Buyers trade up to a certain level, get cut off, and then sellers trade to a certain level and then get cut off. This is the dual auction process taking place. This is why you will find any market do this more often than not. Okay? Is there any of you that still believe that the market doesn't balance more often than when it's imbalanced? Does anybody still believe that the markets are more imbalanced than balanced? No? Good. Okay, because if you do, I would say, because I was a little bit skeptical about that firstly when I first started to understand those concepts, but when you keep trading and you keep seeing the market unfolding, you'll say, okay, wait a minute, you can't argue with this. It's true, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay, so I am very confident in saying this happens to be true, and it makes sense for it to be true. The markets are balanced more often than they are imbalanced. Not to say they won't become imbalanced, and not to say that there isn't any opportunity when the markets are imbalanced. There is. And again, some traders from the School of Thought of Auction Markets Theory and Market Profile will actually always be looking for imbalance. They don't find the opportunity in balanced markets. Okay? Which is fine. Right? So, just got to know. Federico, so you believe that the markets are imbalanced more often than balanced? Is that right? And that's what you see? Or are you just agreeing with me? Agree or disagree? That's probably the best question. Agree or disagree? No, okay, not getting anything back. Okay, market moves up until it runs out of buyers, moves down until it runs out of sellers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it creates balance. So this is the nature of the markets. Okay, so let's carry on. You know, like I said, if you don't see it as yet, I mean, when I move to the charts, it'll become bright as rain. So I'll be willing to get some challenges. If anybody wants to challenge what I believe here. But I will not only show it to you on the charts, but I prove it every day in the trading room. Right? So, first of all, it's like a presupposition. You have to almost accept this as a reality and as an occurrence. Good stuff, Federico. Gotcha. You agree. Excellent. So you've got to understand that this is what you have to believe. Okay? Because it's believing in this that will help you trade it. If you don't believe that to be true or reality, that the markets are balanced more often than imbalanced, it'll be very difficult to trade this way, because this requires you to believe in the markets being balanced, because you have to trade often when the market looks like it might become imbalanced back into balance. Okay, and if you don't believe in it, it makes it very difficult to act and do what you should do in the right places at the right times. Because a lot of the time when we're taking the trades that we take, and the trades that I take often in the trading room, which will appear like it's the opposite to what maybe the majority is thinking. That's the exact point, though. Because when everybody else is thinking, okay, you know, it's a good time to be setting here, we've gone into the downtrend, it's usually too late. It's usually when that moves over. You know, by the time it's really, really clear that we've got a big down move and sellers are piling in onto that big down move, it's over. I mean, how many times you've been there? Okay, down move, you know, I didn't take it earlier, I didn't take the first pullback, didn't take the first bounce, didn't take the second bounce. Okay, third bounce, fourth bounce, let me take it now. It looks clear this is a downtrend. Then all of a sudden the market goes into an uptrend. You know, we've all been there. Right, so, actually I haven't finished yet. So, the VPOC here is, now looking at volume profiling, okay, so do understand this is volume profiling. What we will generally find is 70% of the volume trades within what we call the value high and the value low. The value high and the value low on volume profiles just highlight where the high was for that range where 70% of volume traded, and the value low defines where the low was where for that range where 70% of the volume traded. Okay, so 70% of the volume trades within the value high, value low. Now, if it's a developing value high, value low, which means it's live and it's still moving with the current market, those levels will change. So do take that into consideration. Now, the VPOC is the volume point of control. Traditionally, in market profiling, we would look at the point of control, which is time-based. Differentiate between the point of control, which is where the market spent most of its time, and the VPOC. The VPOC is actually the highest volume price. It's where the market spent, the market traded most amount of volume, Irrelevant of whether it's buying or selling, it doesn't matter. It's just where the most amount of volume traded. It's actually the price where the buyer and the sellers agreed. If you look at the mass psychology, the mass behavior of the market participants involved with that market, the highest volume price is where the majority of traders found an agreement. So we've got to look at this as a pricing model and define the volume, the highest volume price, or the VPOC, as like the retail price, the recommended retail price. It's like where most market participants find this product at its fairest price. It's like having a BMW that's worth £30,000 at £30,000. Most people will agree that it's worth that much. That's why they will do business there. Okay, but you know, you put that price up for something that's potentially got a recommended retail price of say £30,000, up to say £40,000. Now you'll see some buyers saying, okay, wait a minute, that's too expensive. Okay, you push that price to a discount of say £20,000, now you'll see lots of buyers thinking, okay, this is a great deal. So very simple way to look at it, but let's not make this more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, let's move to imbalance markets. Imbalance markets are trending markets. That's all an imbalance market is. It's a trending market, but in auction market theory and taking into consideration volume profiling, market profiling concepts, you've got to understand that an imbalance market is actually not just price trending higher and lower. It's actually qualified as a successful trending market by establishing whether volume is actually traded in that direction as well at those prices. Okay, so increasing volume with an upwards trending market is a good thing. Decreasing volume in an upwards trending market is not a good thing for it to continue higher. In a downwards trending market, if volume is increasing and it's moving lower, it's a good thing. But we also have to consider acceptance. Okay, as long as it's moving higher, price is advertising higher, and it's been accepted, that is defined with volume and shown by volume, then we can understand, okay, people want to do business there. If we are seeing the price advertising lower, does increasing volume not also signal the end of a trend? In some cases it does, but it's what happens next that will help us see that. So increasing volume is often, this is when we often see what I call a P formation or a B formation. So if we see lots of volume at higher prices and we can't get out of that range, and we see no more new distributions higher, that's often a sign of a top or an end of a trend. So you're right, but it's actually at that moment in time when the volume actually stops building higher or lower. So what you'll typically see if you're looking at, say, volume profiles, you'll see a balanced profile, and then you see a profile that shows some acceptance moving higher. So notice this is volume profile. And then you see something like this, lots of volume at the highs and no pushes past that. Okay, and then what you'll often find is the market finds balance again, trades around that range, and then we see acceptance lower. But I wouldn't like to pick a top in that situation. I'd like to see some evidence that it's actually becoming the end of the trend. Okay, but because I don't personally trade trends, I often don't find myself trading into that situation looking for the continuation of the trend. It's usually at that point in time we're actually getting out of our trades. So yeah, good point. Does increasing volume signal the end of a trend? Well, it does when it's actually signaled it, right? You don't know when the end of a trend has occurred. Nobody does until volume stops trading in that direction. So increasing volume itself in itself means the market is still accepting in that area. It's still accepting in that direction. The only time you can establish whether it's the end of a trend is when it is, when the market stops trading more volume in that direction. Does that make sense? Good stuff. So I'm not asking anybody to agree with everything I'm saying here. If by the end of tomorrow you want to challenge anything, I'll be sure to take on the challenge. But I'm sure that everything will make sense if it doesn't already right now, especially with some examples. So this is just a theory at the moment, so just take it in, soak it in like a sponge. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. You're a child that's learning this for the first time. Empty your cup, okay? Trading markets, higher lows, higher highs, right? In an uptrend, and of course in a downtrend, what happens with price? Lower lows, lower highs. Now, what usually is happening with that price advertisement is if we are actually going to continue that trend, and normally they don't continue for that long, but when they are there, they're good to trade with. Volume starts to trade efficiently outside of the prior range of value. So generally, if we have an area of value, which I'll move on to an example next, we'll find the volume starts to trade outside of that prior area of value. So that's why it's important to understand where value is, because even if you're going to establish an area of imbalance or a market potentially becoming imbalanced, you need to understand where value was before. Because if you don't understand where value was before and where it was accepted before, where the range of acceptance was before, it's difficult to establish whether the market is actually trying to move away from that area. So first you have to understand where balance is. Remember, balance is always the gateway to a trend. A market never just trends. A sideways market is always the beginning of any trend. Okay? Longer time frame participants are now interested in buying higher prices. Okay, so that's what we see. That's what the volume. That's why the volume comes in. And if we are dropping lower and accepting below value, we'll see selling at lower prices. And that volume building above or below that prior area of value is basically just proving that the perception of value is changing. The proof is in the pudding. If the market is proving that it's trading volume at higher prices, well, that's a fact. We're trading higher prices. We're accepting higher prices. If the market is advertising price at lower prices and we're actually trading volume at lower prices, it's a fact until it stops being a fact. We don't have to argue against it because it's fact. The market is moving lower and it's accepting lower, it's accepting lower and it's moving lower. Market is moving higher and it's accepting higher, it is moving higher and accepting higher until it stops. Until it stops that process. And usually that process stops when we find balance again. Why? Because the purpose of the market is to facilitate trade. So if inefficiency is in place, what makes sense for the market to do, guys? If inefficiency has been found and the market is in balance, what does it make sense for the market to do? That's a question. So if the market is already imbalanced, Giles, and it's trending, what is the job of the market to do? What is, if we're considering the purpose of the marketplace, which we covered in step 1, okay? What does it make sense for the market to do if you're understanding the auction market theory principles of the market going from balance back to imbalance? Okay, so if we are to stop trending, what is going to happen next? So we're trending already, but what if we are to stop trending? What should happen? Okay, yeah, that's it, Peter. Yep, keeps going until it finds balance. Yep, so tries to find value or balance again. Why? Because it needs to return back to efficiency. So an inefficiency occurs in the marketplace. Efficiency should be found. Efficiency is a balanced market again. Finding two-sided trade. Alright, so that's why we often find when the market becomes imbalanced, the next thing we look out for, okay, is where is it going to balance? And of course we have some very easy ways to identify that when we use the tools that we use. Because we can all understand what a balanced market looks like. We can all understand what an imbalanced market looks like. If you know what a balanced market looks like and you know what an imbalanced market looks like, you should be able to look at the market and say, okay, it's either balanced or it's imbalanced. It's a key question. It's a fundamental question you have to answer before you even look at identifying the opportunity. So this is all about context. You have to understand if the market balanced to understand how you should be trading it. You have to understand if the market is imbalanced to understand how you should be trading it. So, this is an example. Let's just say we were trading around a prior area of value. So most of the volume was trading in the middle of the range. What will give us an idea that this market might want to move out of this range? Now, this is in any way doesn't mean it's 100% this market's going to move out of this range. It, for that moment, just shows that we are willing to, for that moment in time, accept higher prices. Okay, now on an intraday perspective, this will happen all the time. Actually, it happened on Friday. Okay, on an intraday perspective, we started to accept higher. But if you looked at the bigger picture and put it into context, that 69 area where we was actually doing this was an area where we were expecting a push down. Okay, so do look at this from a longer time frame perspective and not just an intraday perspective. Okay, it is all fractal, and it does apply to every time frame and every market, but do understand that from a short-term perspective, although this may be a heads up that the market may be moving higher on an intraday perspective, it depends on where it's occurring within the context of the longer time frame as well. Okay, so context is about understanding where you are in reference to the bigger picture. But if this is happening on the longer time frame, let's say we're looking at a 60-minute chart, and this is being, say, value building over here for like the last 2 or 3 days, and all of a sudden we start to see some acceptance over the next day or so, and we're trading higher now. Now that's a heads up that we might have a few auctions higher. Now, on an intraday basis, if this occurred, this might just mean we might have one more leg higher, which really there's not a lot of opportunity in. Okay, it might be good for a scalp higher or just join the trend for the day. But if you're anything like me looking for the bigger moves, then you might want to apply this from a longer time perspective. Okay, so as we said earlier on, unfair. We have value, so let's pretend the market is balanced here. We have volume building in here. It's been proven with acceptance here. Then all of a sudden, this was unfair for the sellers, advantages for the buyers. We found the buyers here anyway. And that's usually where I want to buy, even when imbalance occurs. The gateway to a trend and imbalance is always balance anyway. So if I can start doing business below value and start selling above value, even if it goes into a trend, I'm usually still in that trade anyway, and I'm just riding my runners. So we very rarely have to identify this and get on board an imbalance move. But there are some days where you start trading and that the balance has already occurred and we're going into imbalance, and you just have to sort of join the trend. Like I said, it doesn't happen that often, but there will be situations where you might have to do that. But major focus should be, okay, try to identify the balance areas, trade above and below value, and if this imbalance occurs, you're already in the trade. Now if the imbalance is occurring and you're not already in the trade, then the option is to then highlight that, okay, we're starting to build volume above value. If we got up here and price was up here and it started to do this and no volume built here at price, then price could easily come back down again. But the fact that volume is building up there means acceptance. Volume shows the success or the failure of the price advertisement. So if it's a successful price advertisement up here, volume should build. And if volume is building, that means it's been successful at advertising higher prices. Therefore, that means longer time frame buyers, if it's above value, is showing interest at higher prices. And that, of course, shows that there has been a shift in perception of what prices are fair and as seen as value for these participants. Okay. Now, if there was no business being done up here, we could assume that these prices have been rejected by low volume up here, and then it come back down again. But the fact that it starts to reject is always a heads up that we might continue to move in that direction. Now, can we still get short in these areas? Yes, but it depends on what perspective. Okay, which I'll move on to. So we're just building a foundation here at the moment. Just remember that. So, this is an example, this market continue to trend. So let's just take this into consideration, being fractal. The market may do this intraday, for example. We've been trading value and then all of a sudden we accept outside of value. So in the developing profile, the developing volume profile, we'll see something like this. Volume will start to build outside of the prior distribution where we was accepting, and then all of a sudden price will pull back. It will hold this low volume area here, okay, and then start to push off. Then it will actually build a new area of value or a new area of acceptance higher. Now, this market will move higher as long as we keep building new distributions volume higher. Whether we're going to stop or not, well, only the market will tell us. If the market stays there for quite some time and we fail to break higher, for example, we can start to anticipate that might be the top, but we still start looking for a lot more clues. So, high volume itself at higher prices doesn't mean we're coming to an end of a trend. High volume itself in a downward trending market, continue to trade in that direction, actually needs to be seen as a continuation, okay, signal. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. The DAX is on an intraday perspective doing this a hell of a lot, and most volatile markets would do this on an intraday perspective. But actually, we'll look at the DAX because we're still trading balance if you look at it from the longer time perspective, but it's still a very wide range. It's a very wide range. So from an intraday perspective, if you're just looking at intraday value, it's a lot of the time it will appear as if it's trending intraday. Okay, and we've seen that a number of auctions, okay, over the last few weeks especially. But in the bigger picture, it's still a balanced market. Okay, which is very much the case in most certain scenarios. Even when we do see a trend, it's usually within the context of a balanced phase. So for example, we might see this intraday today, but and this, let's just say this is you know, on a 5-minute chart here, we've started down here today, we've opened up, we started trade higher and then closed at the highest. But then when we look at the bigger picture, we might see, okay, on a 60-minute chart, this has actually just been a market that's done this, traded sideways, gone up, traded sideways, gone up, and we're now in this phase, which will actually be, on a bigger picture, the unfair high of the bigger range, and then we go into the pushback down again. So the markets are generally still rotational in nature. So even when we do see these trends intraday, a lot of the time, you know, we'll find them reversing the next day or two. And that's why when we had that big downwards move the other day, we had a big rotation back up again, because, and you could see that if you looked at the bigger picture, you could see, okay, wait a minute, we just hit the range extension, and then we push back up again. So the markets are still rotational. And sometimes people look at the short term and they get sucked into this, say, oh, I think the market's downtrending, oh, it's going into an uptrend, we're going to continue this for days. Very rarely will you find a situation where the market downtrends and continues that downtrend the next day. Especially those significant moves, those very big moves. Very rarely. Most of the time the market rotates all the way back up again. And I actually mentioned this on after we had that big downwards move, I mentioned this on Thursday and Friday. I said, look, going into Thursday, Friday, I wouldn't be surprised if we get back to where we just come from. And this is what you'll find. Most people are going to be looking at this and saying, okay, we've had a big downwards move, we're going to come in tomorrow, we're going into the big downtrend, this market's had it, you know, let's start selling. But the reality is, if you look at it and just zoom out on your charts, you'll see, okay, wait a minute, the market's still balanced. It just hit unfair lows here. Longer time frame players are going to start coming in, buying into this downwards push, seeing this as, you know, as a price advertisement of much lower prices, wholesale opportunities. And next thing you know, the market started trending back up again. You know, yes, there was some news-driven stuff. You know, we've got the stuff with the uncertainty about the Greek PSI deal, etc. But a lot of the time, you know, we've seen it many times where the technical setups and what we see structurally setting up actually precedes the movement that actually happens on any news anyway. A lot of the time, it's just priced in. So, you know, we had uncertainty about the PSI deal. We had, you know, whatever it could have been, market pushed lower. At the end of the day, the market pushed lower because it was being accepted lower. And then it stopped pushing lower because it stopped being accepted lower. And then the market then started pushing higher, started being accepted higher again. So, but all within a sideways rotational range. All within a balanced phase. So, you know, that's what we saw. We'll look at some real examples in a few minutes. But, you know, these are the basic concepts, okay? We'll also look at range extensions. And, you know, this is when we find the market looks like it's balanced. Okay, so, but there's a lack of trade facilitation at new prices when we see that push outside of balance or value. And then it generally leads to the rejection back into value. So if we looked at the previous example there and we saw the price push up into that same area. Now, if you just saw price alone, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know whether it's been accepted or rejected. You wouldn't know if that was a successful price advertisement or not. But if you're looking at volume at price, you'll be able to say to yourself, okay, looks like we're accepting up here. Okay, we might push higher. Okay, now if we moved above value or outside of a balanced range, out of a sideways range, and we actually pushed higher, and trade didn't facilitate, and we didn't accept prices, and volume didn't build that price, we could then say to ourselves, okay, this is just a range extension. We're testing up there. And it's also possibly a stop run in this situation. We're taking out some stops, and we're testing up here also to see if there's more sellers up here. And then we see the range extension. Price will move sideways like this, and then all of a sudden we see a range extension. No more volume builds up here, so volume distribution will look something like this for the day. We will still see no volume up there. And this is when you can say to yourself, okay, price is up here, no volume's building up here, let me start selling into that. Because as long as there's no volume up here, there's a very good chance we're going to go back to where the volume was. Because at the end of the day, the job of the market is to facilitate trade. It's going to go back to where trade was being facilitated. So, price in that situation won't tell you the full story. But if you look at volume at price, it will tell you. Okay, so generally price will advertise outside of the range of value, but will not facilitate enough trade or volume to continue in that direction. So it will not develop enough interest at higher prices to continue. Again, the basis of auction market theory principles, the price moves higher until there's no more demand. price moves lower until there's no more supply. So if there's prices advertising higher and there's no more demand at higher prices and nobody wants to keep buying at higher prices and no more volume is traded up there, well, guess what? Price is going to move back down again to value again. Okay, it's going to move back into that balance range again where trade was facilitated. Now we see this on a longer time frame perspective. You're going to see this on even on micro perspective when I move on to the order flow stuff tomorrow. Okay, so generally this is the process of shaking out the weak holders. Okay, so sellers that really don't want to be short or just trade in the short term generally get shaken out in those areas. This is why often when you see me trading in the trading room, I get partially positioned, I'll get short. I'd say, okay, I'm going to get half short here. Okay, I've got a half position on, but I'm going to hold it, and if it comes to break even, I'm not going to get out. If I get the range extension, it goes to 1272, 1618 extension, or test a low volume area above or below value, I'm going to still scale in. I'm going to sell some more, because that's me still doing business around this value area. Okay, so, you know, now if you do, for example, get your stop at break even, or you get stopped out in those situations, make sure you get back in again if it looks good. Okay, because it will happen. That's a process of the market. It's gonna come back, test those unfair highs a number of times. It's gonna come back and test those unfair lows a number of times before it even moves away from it. So you either have to re-enter in those areas if you're reducing your risk very quickly, which I'll move on to under the trade management stuff tomorrow, or you know, you just don't reduce your risk and get your try your stops too aggressively, and you stay with those trades and keep scaling in. Okay. Now there's a skill to that. It is an art form, and you have to understand how to add into the positions if you are to. And when I'm talking about adding in, I'm talking about building a position and not averaging down. Okay, not averaging into positions. I'm not talking about, okay, the trader's moving against me, let me keep selling some more, or the trader's moving against me, let me keep buying some more. I'm talking about, okay, I feel it might hold here, so I'm going to get something on, let me get short. Okay, but I feel it might still want to advertise higher prices, so I'm not going to get fully short yet. So this is a way of thinking when it comes to trade management, which I'll cover tomorrow. Okay. So we'll move on to this. This is pretty much how we have to perceive this happening. We've got the recommended retail prices, which is the VPOC. So if you see the volume point of control, I want you guys to say to yourself, it's a recommended retail price. The reason I've done this, and we've relabeled these, and some of you guys that have been on the previous seminars will know this, the reason I do this is because I want to teach us in layman's terms. Okay, now I know when I first started learning auction market theory and market profile, volume profile, it was the same old stuff, but taught with new terminology, which made it more confusing. This is nothing new. This has been around for decades. It's been around for ages, since the markets began. Auction market theory, that's how the markets work. You know, balanced market is a sideways market, an imbalanced market is a trending market. New terminology doesn't, you know, just may confuse people. So a VPOC, volume point of control, what does it actually mean? Well, it's a fair price. It's a retail price, recommended retail price, where most people will do business, but not for us. Okay, it's not an advantageous price for us to do business. It's not a good place for us to get in, because the market usually trades around a fair price. Trade facilitates, it spends a lot of time there, and you generally don't want to have trade location there, okay, at a fair price. Now we have premium prices, the value at high. So when you see the value at highs, where the edge of value is as premium prices, expensive prices, relabel it. Okay, I want you to see the value at low, the VAL, as wholesale prices, wholesale opportunities, cheap prices. Okay, relabel it. Now anything above the value at high, which may be the range extension occurring, is an expensive premium price. Anything that's occurring below the value at low, or the wholesale prices, or the range lows, will be heavily discounted prices. And that's the way I want you guys to see this. Okay. Now, at each one of these levels, you can look at the behavior or the market participants and how they might be thinking at these levels. So, as we covered, the premium price, the value at high, weak holders may buy at premium. Okay. If we come back to the recommended retail price, the VPOC, weak holders may buy at recommended retail price. Okay. Now, if we come to wholesale, strong holders will buy below value, and at wholesale, the value at low. If we get a heavily discounted prices, Strong holders will also be buying at that heavily discounted price and that range extension price below value. Now, if you look at the other side, we'll have the sellers, the expensive premium prices. Strong holders sell at expensive premium prices. This is a great price for strong holders, and it's a great price for longer time frame participants that want to sell at advantage prices to be doing business on the short side. Strong holders will also sell at premium. Now, recommended retail price, weak holders will be selling around there. Okay, it's not the best place to do business in the middle of the range. It's the fairest price, but not the most advantageous. Okay, it's okay to get in there, but it may not be where you want to put most of your position on. Okay, now we move into wholesale prices. These are the unfair prices for the sellers. Okay, weak holders will sell at wholesale. Weak holders will also sell at discount. So the weak sellers are getting out at wholesale and heavily discounted prices, while the strong buyers are getting in those areas. And when we get to the premium prices and expensive premium prices, we're getting the weak holders buying, and we're getting the strong sellers selling. So this is the way I want you guys to see that. Right? Now, we're going to move on to the opportunities next, and we're going to move on to some charts. And it's going to get a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. So let's have another 5-minute break. Any questions for the moment, guys? I know this is basic stuff for some, but some of you it might be new. Nothing wrong with going over the basics. Nothing wrong with going over the foundation of this stuff, because if you don't understand the foundation of it, I mean, you can't move to identifying the opportunities. Okay? You just won't be able to do a good job of it. You can't move on to trade execution and trade management until you've understood the basics, because all of those basics that I've just covered are going to apply to every single phase of this methodology that I'm going to move on to. You'll see it. Okay, balance and imbalance is going to be everywhere. Acceptance and rejection is going to be everywhere. Value is going to be everywhere. Okay, you have to understand the trade facilitation process. You have to understand the auction market theory principles. So hopefully you guys have got a nice solid foundation of the auction market theory principles, which are to facilitate trade. The market moves higher until there are no more buyers. Okay, the market moves lower until there's no more sellers. Okay, most of you guys know that. Okay, supply and demand, very simple model, but you have to understand that the market is most efficient in balance phases, and its inefficiency occurring in imbalance phases. That's the key thing to take on board. Okay, good stuff, guys. No questions. So let's have a 5-minute break. We'll start again at 22. Thanks, guys. Okay, so before we continue, any questions, guys? I know it's quite foundation stuff. This is not too complicated for anyone, is it? Is it easy to understand so far? I mean, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but I know everybody's at different levels. Good stuff. So I am trying to make this easy to understand. So that's the whole point, you know. So if it appears over simplistic at times, that's actually a good thing. Excellent, good stuff. And the reason I cover the basics, time and time again, is because, it's like I said, it's like playing a sport. If you don't understand how to do the basics, which is the foundation behind how well you're going to play that game, you won't be able to play the game that well. So it's like, for example, being a soccer player or a football player, and you haven't learned how to kick and pass the ball. But yet you want to do an overhead kick, right? So, which may be possible, but it's best to start with the passing and the kicking, right? So just a little metaphor there. Oh, excellent, outstanding. That's a very good compliment. That's about as good as it gets. Excellent, good stuff, guys. So now I will say that this will get a lot more fun and a lot more. I know some traders love to see the technical stuff, but like I said, you've got to see the technical side of things as the tools. It's like knowing you got to know how to use the tools firstly, well, actually, more importantly, you've got to know what they mean and why you might even want to use them in the first place. You know, you don't want to end up using a hammer to do a screwdriver's job, right? So you've got to understand when to use what, and of course understand why you might want to use it. So a lot of it is why you might want to use what you need to use. So when it comes to using the tools and identifying the opportunities, it will make a lot more sense if you understand the basics of auction market theory. Right, so now this is pretty much step 2. Identifying the opportunities. So we've understood the simple dynamics of the market. It's an auction. Buyers will buy at lower prices and sellers will sell at higher prices. Most likely, you know, that's how most traders are looking to do business. Okay, buy at lower prices, sell at higher prices. Sell at higher prices, buy back at lower prices. There is this perception of value on a conscious and also on an unconscious level, and this auction process creates what we call balanced markets as well as imbalanced markets, or balanced phases and imbalanced phases. So this provides us a story, a framework for thinking within. And now on top of this, we can start now looking for some opportunities. But the concepts that we've just learned, the basic concepts of acceptance, rejection, balance and imbalance, is what's going to help us identify the opportunities. Because the tools that we use are tools that we use to read that information, to understand where the acceptance and rejection is occurring, to understand where low volume has traded, to understand where high volume has traded, to understand where rejection is occurring around a balanced market, to understand the exact prices where you should be looking to sell and buy within and around value, highlighting where trading rejection is likely to occur so that the market may continue in the direction of the trend when it's in balance. And lastly, I'm going to be covering some of the concepts for divergence. Divergence is a very good heads up indicator, not necessarily a reason to take a trade. It might be a reason to start getting into a trade if you build positions, very much like myself. But divergence is a very important concept that can be applied in many different ways as well. So we can apply it, you know, on many different indicators and tools. So I'll cover divergence as well. I will be covering volume profiling, going to the charts. I will be covering low volume nodes, high volume nodes. I will be covering Fibonacci and how to trade around range extensions and understand psychology behind that. And I will also be covering divergences. Okay, let's cover acceptance and rejection. Acceptance is shown on our charts through higher volume. So when high volume trades at specific prices, and I want to make clear, guys, when I'm talking about volume, I'm talking about volume at price. Okay, although volume at bar is important, or volume in the traditional sense, the volume that builds over a certain amount of time from one period into the next period, I am talking about volume as it occurs at each and every single price. Okay, so do take that into consideration, that when I reference volume, I'm talking about volume at price, not volume at bar. Okay, Federico, thanks for letting me know. Maybe my microphone, I'll just try and turn the microphone up a little bit, maybe that will help. Just turn the volume up a little bit. Does that sound better? Good, thank you. So acceptance is quite simple to see on a chart. It's shown by where we see a lot of volume trading, where we see a bulge of volume trading. So on a volume profile, it will look something like this. You know, you see the traditional kind of bell curve shape. Now, not necessarily just one, we might see a few of them in a trending market. But basically, where volume distribution occurs, where we have this kind of bulge in volume, that's basically what you have to define as an area of acceptance. Okay? What happens as a result of that, because prices become accepted, the market spends time there. So, you know, this is where being patient in the right situations really pays off. Because if we are accepting higher prices and we spend some time there, it doesn't matter how long the market spends there. If I'm long and this market is continuing to spend time at higher prices and it continues to trade higher prices, I've got no reason to get out. I stay long. So time does help. Time is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, if you're a scalper, you know, time may be a reason to get out of a trade. But especially as we've seen in the last few months, patience is really, really important. It's always been important, but definitely since we've seen the decrease in volatility moving from August back into January, where the volume just dropped off, we've had some phases where you had to be very, very patient, and most days, you know, you'll find some great opportunities. And I've even found myself trading the E-mini S&P right into the close on some days. Now, that doesn't happen that often, but you might have to go through phases in the market where it takes time to develop. Okay, so do understand that time is not necessarily a bad thing. If it's trading in the direction that you are positioned and it's accepting in that direction and it's spending more time moving in that direction, that's actually a good thing, because it means people want to trade there. Okay? So the other thing with acceptance, you've got to understand high volume areas as being acceptance areas, and therefore they attract price. Okay, they act like magnets. Why would that be? Now, if the job of the market is to facilitate trade, let's go back to the beginning again, and it finds efficiency when it's balanced, right? Now, if the market moves away from an area where it was accepted and was doing its job and fulfilling the job of the marketplace very well, of course it will be quite normal for the market to want to go back to where it has already proven to be accepting price. Okay, so if price moves away from an area of acceptance or where volume traded, it quite commonly will return if it cannot continue to build new interest away from that area. Right? It's very much like, you know, if I'm an auctioneer, I've got a let's just stick with the concept of the BMW. I've got a BMW to sell. Okay, now I offer it at 20,000. Okay, now there's a lot of interest there. Okay, now I offer it at 25,000. There's a lot of interest there. I offer it at 30,000. There's a lot of interest there. Okay, now I start to go to 35,000, 40,000. There's no interest. Where am I likely to take the prices back to? Any ideas? Back to where people have just proven that they were accepting, right? So, you know, you got your 20, 30, yeah, exactly. So markets are no different. You know, of course, acceptance will occur outside of value, and it will move directionally. But until that looks like it's even occurring, we should be taking advantage of those opportunities when the volume shows that the auction has failed to facilitate trade at those higher prices or those lower prices. Okay, now brings me on to my next point here, rejection. Rejection is the opposite. Yeah, good stuff, Federico. Good. Rejection occurs because the prices are unfair. Again, it's pretty much common sense. If we, as a collective group, everyone here right now, see a price that's advertised that we don't really want to trade at, what's going to happen? We won't trade, right? Is that true? If we don't want to trade at a specific price, we're not interested, what's going to happen? We're not going to trade. So, lack of trade facilitation shows what? Low volume, right? Does that make sense? So if we're not interested in trading, the lack of volume shows what? Shows lack of interest. It shows unfair prices. So it's unfair because people don't want to trade. Right? What that leads to is, for us, when we're trading, it's exactly those prices that we're interested in, where the rejection is going to occur, because we are actually not looking for opportunities when the price is going to stay there. What are we looking for when we're getting into a trade? We want to find an opportunity when the market is likely to move away from that area, right? Is that not true? Is it true that we want to find a trading opportunity where the market is likely to move away from that area and not necessarily stay there? Yeah, that's the right thing to do, right? So where does it make logical sense for the market not to spend any time? Well, basically where people don't want to trade. If the job of the market is to facilitate trade, and it's proven in an area where there is hardly no volume trading, that nobody wants to trade, it makes sense that if it gets back to that area, that people won't want to trade. And what does that lead to us? Lead to for us? Opportunity. That's exactly the opportunities we're looking for, right? And if there are any opportunities and trades are taken there, again, coming back to the model of good prices, advantage prices is snapped up very quickly. Good deals are always snapped up very quickly. And that's another reason why we won't spend a lot of time there. We won't spend time there, we won't facilitate trade there. Obviously trades will take place there, but they will take place quickly. People will snap up those opportunities quickly. And that's our job. We need to establish those times where the opportunities are being snapped up quickly and get on board. Okay, in an area where we expect that to happen. What happens is price moves away, and that's actually what we want to see happen, and that leads to the opportunity. Does everybody follow the simple concept of acceptance and rejection? So if I ask you guys now the question of understanding that, where does it make sense for us to trade? Where does it make sense for us to trade and look for opportunities to get into the market? Rejection areas or acceptance areas? Right, and that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Makes logical, common sense. Okay, so now I don't know if any of you guys, actually quick show of hands, who started to learn market profile, volume profiling, and first started to look at trading off VPOCs or point of controls as key areas for doing business? Quick show of hands. No? Did anybody ever come across that style of trading? Trading off point of controls for entries? Yep. Okay. So, if you understand the basis of auction market theory and you trade auction market theory, does that really make a lot of sense to do that? I'm not saying that we should never consider trading previous point of controls. It just doesn't make a lot of sense if you understand the basics. Well, it doesn't to me anyway. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, whilst it is true, I will point this out, whilst it is true, in trending markets we may revisit prior areas where acceptance was, and we could see prior areas of acceptance rejected. Okay, so please take note of this. We may see in the future where areas were accepted that they are rejected. That's pretty much what happens when we move away from value. Okay, we may also see prior areas of rejection being accepted. Okay, but we can see that when that's occurring. But the expectancy, we've got to have some kind of logical framework for thinking and doing business. And the expectancy is an area of acceptance is likely to be accepted again, not rejected. So when it comes to trade location and entries, it doesn't make a lot of sense to get into a trade where it's likely to be accepted and just move sideways, if we understand that is what happens in an area of acceptance, right? I'm sure most of you guys will agree. But it does make a hell of a lot of sense to look at an area that was previously rejected to look for entries, because that might occur again. Again, do understand prior areas of rejection could be accepted and prior areas of acceptance could be rejected. But the most common occurrence is acceptance is accepted, rejection is rejected. Okay, so now how this shows up on our charts or in a diagram format anyway. So this is what some will call a textbook example, but the markets are not far off. It's not that difficult to see acceptance and rejection. Actually, the software does it for you these days. So on a volume profile, how do we define acceptance and rejection? Well, a bulge of volume is an area of acceptance. Now, the tip or the highest peak of that high volume area is the high volume node, HVN, as it is commonly known. HVN stands for high volume node. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with that. The high volume node is the key area of acceptance. It's the fairest price in that area of acceptance. Okay, it's very much like being the point of control of an area of value. That is also an area of value, but just one distribution where people found value. Okay, now what often happens is the market then drops off volume and we find a low volume area. That's what we call a valley. It's a valley, it's an area of rejection. And then we find a new area of acceptance, and we have acceptance, high volume nodes, etc. So in a trending market, we might find something like this. Market balances here, pushes up, balances again, pushes up, balances again in this. Or we could find the market balancing up here, pushing down, balancing here, pushing down, balancing here. So that's commonly how the market moves from balance to imbalance, balance to imbalance. It finds acceptance, rejects, finds acceptance, rejection. Now there's two kinds of rejection. There's rejection reverse. Okay, so an area of rejection could cause two things. We'll either pass straight through it, okay, or we will hold it for support or resistance. Okay, so we might find, let's say for example we were trading around this area of acceptance, we might drop through on the first test of rejection. Usually we won't. We will usually see a bit of a pop up, but we might pop through it. And that's what we call pass-through rejection. So there's pass-through rejection where we pass straight through that low volume area because nobody wants to trade there. But then there's also rejection reverse when we test an area of rejection and we actually reverse. And that's what we're looking for, really, to get into trades. But whenever I get into an area of rejection or a low volume area looking for an opportunity for an entry, I ask myself, okay, are we going to see pass-through rejection, go straight through it, or are we actually going to hold that area and see the reversal? Now this is why it's important that we don't just place orders at low volume areas. Although that might work for some and it might be a good way to do business, I don't trade that way. I actually wait for it to test my area and see what's going on there before I do business. Okay, now if we pass through, usually we get to the next area of acceptance. Okay, so it's normally to, we go from this area of acceptance back into this area of acceptance. Okay, so it's commonly how the market moves from balance to imbalance. It finds areas of acceptance, highlights areas of rejection in that process. So now let's move to the charts and have a look at some practical examples. Okay, so yeah, sorry guys, just turned my microphone off while I was just switching to the charts. Apologize for that. Okay, so we're looking at the E-mini S&P. This is a 30-minute chart. It's probably a good idea if I actually move from the top down, from the bigger picture, just to show where we have been as well. So just see some of these concepts of acceptance and rejection in action. So this is an ES daily chart. Let's just clear it up. So simple chart. Now, even from my understanding what we've just covered right now, sideways balanced markets, could anybody look at this chart and point out where we had found balance and where we found imbalance? Could anybody do that? From just looking at this chart, could you say, okay, we was balanced here, we was imbalanced here, we was trading sideways here, we was trading here? Yeah, everybody, right? So first question, does anybody need a market profile to do that? You don't. Okay, you don't need a market profile to tell you the market is balanced and it's imbalanced. Now, one of the things that most of you guys are aware, I've very much traded different phases even before I started to trade with market profile, and I think it's one of the reasons why I became profitable when I did, because I learned the art of adapting. I learned that, okay, the markets are never always trending, they're not always sideways. They're either sideways or they're trending. So when they're trending, I trade them in this way, or when they're sideways and balanced, I'll trade them in this way. It doesn't really take a rocket scientist to work that out. But the thing is, when you develop systems, you try to develop something that works in all phases. And this is why systems do work. And the reason they have drawdowns is because they are not tailored to take advantage of all different phases. The best systems are going to be the ones that somehow can trade ranges when the market's range bound, and then automatically adapt and trade trends when the markets are trending. Okay, but the likelihood is you're either trading a trend trading system or you're trading a balanced market system. Okay, range bound system. So it's nothing new. Trade a range bound market when it's range bound. Trade a imbalanced market with trend trading methods when it's imbalanced, when it's trending. Now, if you apply market profiling concepts or volume profiling concepts to this, we can pick out some areas where we've imbalanced. Let's have a look at the last 2 years or so. Again, here we see the market balanced from, it's actually 3 years, October 2009 up until October 2010. Would everybody agree that this is pretty much a balanced market? What does price do? Moving up, moving down, moving up, moving back down, moving up, moving down. Okay, it's sideways, right? It's sideways. It's a sideways market. We're trading around value. Now, the market did become imbalanced from that phase, as we are all familiar with, in October 2010 up until around, well, really became more evident in the end of April, I think it was, end of April. After that, when we started to see the drop. So, we basically was very much in an uptrending market at that point in time, and imbalance from October 2010 until this top that we put in this high that we put in April 2011. And then what happened? The market then balanced from what looks like the beginning of that balancing range was January. Okay, now there is no way of knowing this market is balanced in January, but you can start get some signs the market is finding balance with a very simple concept that I cover all the time. Okay, 100% to 80% retracements. If we have a price swing low, which is down here, then price swing up, and a price swing low which pretty much retraces all of that price swing back. Okay, so it's not a higher low anymore. It's now, that's the first sign of balance from price action. Okay, balance with volume profiling can usually define it a little bit sooner because we see the volume building around that range. So although price may have not balanced there, we may have seen volume starting to build around that range, even if we just looked at this. Okay, so you can see that as we start to trade back into this range, there's this kind of P formation forming. Okay, which is often the first sign the market may start to move sideways. And then what happens is the market then moves sideways. Now this is on a daily chart, but it's the same concept, whether this is a 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart, 60-minute chart, it's the same concept. So what happened is the market then moves sideways. Okay, what I normally do is grab a profile tool. In Market Delta, there's a number of ways you can draw a profile. You can right click on the chart, show the toolbar, and you have the profile drawing tool. It looks a bit like a profile. Well, it is a profile. It's a profile drawing tool. You hover your mouse over it, you'll see the profile drawing tool. Now you can click on that and it will say profile which bars. Okay, so then you can say, okay, I want to draw a profile from here up to here. That's the beginning of the range. Okay, you can change the colors, double click on it, double click on the edge of it, you can change the colors, etc. Now what I've done is, just so that I don't have to keep going through that, is I have already assigned buttons to predefined volume profile setups. So throughout the rest of the presentation, I will be using my buttons up here. I have a composite profile, custom profile, and a value profile. I'll explain the differences between them. So we can see the market was balanced here up until August 2011. Then we had the drop. Okay, and I'm sure some people are like, you know, okay, big drop, massive drop. You know, we've given back all of the gains in 2011. You know, it's all over. This market's going all the way back to, you know, God knows where it came from. Okay, but you know, in this case, what happened? This market went all the way back to what? 1050, which was what? The first price in the prior area of balance. So if we didn't accept up here and all of a sudden we just dropped out, what's the next logical place for this market to test? The prior area of acceptance. In this case, we tested the 1050 quarter. I mean, that's about as close as it gets. I mean, it doesn't have to be to the tick, but you know, technically it came back into the prior area of acceptance, which was here. And what happened? We held some support. And then what happened? The market started to find acceptance. Now, we started to highlight this acceptance area in August because the market started to show some acceptance here and sideways range before the rest of it had happened. Just from looking at price here, price low, high, retraced almost that full move, retraced back up again. So that's sideways price action. You know the market's balancing from just looking at price and saying, okay, sideways. How do you define sideways price action? You know, you look at price. If it's coming back to the prior high or prior low, you pretty much know it's starting to hold. It's starting to become sideways. What I often refer to as 80% to 100% retracements. When you start to see that happening, that's often a sign the market's becoming sideways and balanced again from looking at price alone. When the market is trending, you'll often find it's not able to pull back all the way back to the prior low or the prior high, and this is where the classic examples of higher highs, higher lows start to be put in an upwards trending market. So for example here, what's been happening since? High highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, right? So you know, this is where we've been in a bit of a trending phase recently. But you know, in our trading room we've been covering from a micro perspective. We've also found some balance here, and actually we've been trading around this here. So we although this looks like it's trending from that time frame, if you actually look at this, we've actually been balanced here again for, in most of these cases, about 2 weeks. We're balanced for about 2 weeks, then break out. So although the directional conviction here is upside, we are still accepting higher. We are still finding balance and value, which actually gives us a lot of opportunity to trade around it. And actually right now we're still balanced. And you know, actually on Wednesday where we had this drop down, what did we say? We took I'm going to cover fib extensions, but let's just put one on here. Swing low to high. Said, look, watch out for that 1272 extension. What we know and understand about value and auction market theory principles, when the market's balanced like this, watch this as a price advertisement. No volume down here. Look at that. Okay, what is most likely to happen if we hit the 1272 extension? If this is new to you, I'm going to cover it by the end of today. What happens? We go all the way back into value. What happened? Right? It's not an uncommon occurrence. It happens all the time. So even though we don't see those value areas so clearly on the daily chart when we're zoomed out, when we zoom in, we can see also value here as well. Does everybody see that? Okay, now we had value here. This has been building for quite some time, right into December. So now we zoom out this chart. Whether it's a micro perspective or a longer time frame perspective, actually we had value here as well. We traded sideways around this range. Now, I know this is easy to define after the fact, but the trick here is to understand, you know, how and when this is happening in the moment, right? Does everybody agree? Anybody can look at a chart and say, okay, there was balance, we was moving sideways. There we're trending, okay, it was trending. You know, anybody can really do that, right? The real thing we all want to learn how to do is, how do we know the market is going to be range bound and stay range bound in the moment? How can we trade it around that? Well, actually with range bound markets, when it's range bound, it's range bound. We can see that quite clearly. We can define that with the price action stuff that I've just showed you. When it becomes imbalance, it's trending. We can see it, okay? But what I will show you by the end of tomorrow is how to identify in real time, you know, how I show that in the trading room all the time, but how we can look at a prior area of acceptance and identify where the market may accept. but also look at where the market is trading right now and identify, okay, it looks like it's accepting. In the moment, we can say, okay, it looks like it's starting to accept. We can now say this market is becoming balanced. So there's a difference between identifying a market that's already balanced, and there's a difference between identifying a market that's becoming balanced. Okay? The characteristics of a market that is becoming balanced, like I've said, is no more difficult than saying, okay, price is moving up, it's in an uptrend, okay, all of a sudden we get a full retracement. That's the first sign the market's about to become balanced. What we often find is when we have that full retracement, it's about 100% into the price swing low like this, we often find a full retracement back in the price swing high. It's normally these two opportunities that we can normally trade as the beginning of balance. Then the market finds a few more swings around that area, and then we find new balance again. Okay? What we will find though, however, when the market does trend, it's a pullback continuation. Most of you guys are probably familiar with Fibonacci. Is anybody not familiar with Fibonacci trading concepts, Fibonacci analysis? Is anybody not familiar with it? I think that's the best question because most people probably are. Okay, well, Fibonacci is a way of basically measuring how far a market has retraced or pulled back. It's nothing really more. Okay, now I use Fibonacci for ages. Okay, but now I use Fibonacci extensions more so than anything else because I was sitting there like many of you guys probably sitting there drawing swing low to swing high, Fibonacci retracement. Okay, and I'm sitting here drawing this line on the chart. For the purpose of a tool to tell me when we've retraced 50% or 38.2% or 61.8%. Well, let's just look at this. 38.2%, well, let's just say 40%, right? 50%, well, it's 50%. 61.8%, let's just say 60%. So basically, I'm using a tool here that I'm taking the time to draw a line from and to, from a swing low to a high, and saying, and the typical use of Fibonacci is take the Fibonacci retracements, draw a swing low to high, and use what we would call a 50% or 38.2, 61.8. So the typical use is 38.2, 50%, 61.8% retracement. Okay, it didn't take me long, but you know, if you're looking for 38.2, 50% retracement, 61.8% retracement, it's either one of those. You might as well just say to yourself, okay, the low is here, the high is here. If it retraced about halfway back, it's pretty much a 50% retrace. It's pretty much a 50% retracement. Okay, or if it retraces almost halfway back, it's about 38.2% retracement. If it retraces slightly more than about halfway back, it's probably a 61.8% retracement. The thing is, those levels are not exact anyway, so you might as well just say, okay, around about a 50% retracement. That's around about where I would expect this market to pull back to and continue its trend, okay, and find the next thrust. So Fibonacci retracements, you don't really need them. You can just say to yourself, okay, halfway back, last swing low to high. As long as we don't take out around halfway back, we're pretty much continuing the trend we're in. So I mean, you could do that to some extent, even here with value. So this is where you might, you know, how you might apply value and the concept of balance in a trending phase, which we've just had recently. So, you know, here we have a market making higher highs, high lows, but we are still spending time balance before we have in the next distribution up. Okay, so distribution, we're sideways right now, but you know, we're still within the context of an upward trending market. So don't think that we don't have value in a trending market, and don't think we don't find balance within the context of a balanced trending market. We do. We can have a trending market but still trade around value, okay, which I think people miss. So you can still, even in this upwards trend, you can say the path of least resistance is upside. Common way of defining a trend, moving average, right? Let's just put a moving average on there. You can do that. Okay, you don't have to put a moving average on there, but you can. You can see price making higher highs, higher lows, right? So that's important. Higher highs, higher lows. Exponential moving average. I like the 34 exponential moving average. It's usually a good proxy. Let's stick that on. So there we are. Okay, we're above the 34 exponential moving average. Moving average is moving up. Price making high highs, high lows. So we can clearly look at this and say, okay, uptrend. okay, from a longer term perspective. But within this uptrend, we're balancing, balancing, balancing. It's a major misconception to believe that we can't balance within the context of a trend. We can. The reason the market continues to trend in that direction is because it keeps accepting and keeps balancing. Because if you look at an upwards trending market, it doesn't just push up. It doesn't just go straight up. We normally have a push up, pull back, bit of consolidation, pull back, consolidation, pull back. That's normally what the market does. Okay, so this is all that the market's doing in a trending market as well, but we can still find value. And actually, each single one of these balance areas, for you guys that have been following me in the trading room, will know that I've taken each one of these every single time we've been balancing around these areas. We've been trading most of the time on the upside and the downside, but also understanding the path of least resistance is still upside. But for an intraday perspective trader, I can still take these shorts, I can still take these longs. It's just that when I'm taking these shorts, I understand, okay, we might find some opposite responses once we get below this value and continue the trend again. It's like when we saw this downwards move the other day, I said, okay, this is nothing but a pullback. Everyone's looking at this, okay, big down day, huge down day, the market's, had it. Okay, we look at this from a bigger, longer time frame perspective. The market's just advertised below value. We've just got to pull back to the 34 exponential moving average, and we're just continuing the trend again. So this is actually a great opportunity for the buy side. So again, however, we're still looking at value. We're still seeing balance. The market is still balancing, finding efficiency, but within the context of an imbalanced higher phase. Okay, so there's balance there as well as imbalance. Now we could also look at each one of these distributions as one profile. Okay, so let's have a look at the last low to high here. Okay, do we still see balance? We still see balance where? Acceptance areas, high volume areas. Okay, can anybody see rejection here? We talked about rejection. Where does this market just get back to before it's just pushed back up again? Now, just applying some of the basic concepts of what you've just understood. Now, we've just understood acceptance and rejection. And when you're looking at a volume profile, the bulges are high volume areas, the low volume areas are the valleys. So, can anybody see here how we are accepting or have been accepting around where a lot of volume is trading, and we've been spending quite naturally a lot of time there, right? And what you can see here is into the unfair highs, what can we see? Hardly no volume. What can we see when we just pull back into this area? The volume dries up, right? Can you guys see this? So let's just draw around this. Where are we seeing rejection and the market pushing back lower? Where are we seeing rejection and the market pushing back higher? Can everybody see how we're trading around an area of acceptance but rejecting the low volume areas around that area? Yeah, I mean, even at the beginning of this phase, can you all see that we had an area of acceptance here? What do we test? By the way, these red lines are the low volume areas. The grey lines are the high volume areas as defined by Market Delta software by itself. Okay, you can do this by highlighting the acceptance and rejections areas quite simply by double clicking on a profile that you've drawn and just ticking this box, peak values. Now, when I first started using volume profile and market profiling tools, this wasn't in the software. I used to have to do this all manually, and actually I still prefer to do it manually because I like to do the work. I am one of them traders that doesn't like to do things, take shortcuts. Okay, so although this is a great tool and it's a great way to identify the peaks and valleys and the high volume and low volume areas, you can change the colors now in the new version of Market Delta. So we're more interested in the low volume areas. So I've defined the low volume areas in red, and I've put the high volume areas in a grey, so it sort of merges into the background because they're not as important to me, but I still want to know where they are. So you can change the sensitivity on this. You can change it to 10, so you get less levels. 20, you get less levels. You can make it very sensitive. Put it on 1, you get loads of levels, probably too many. Put it on 5, so you can change the sensitivity and do it that way, so you don't have to find the levels yourself. So drawing a profile is quite simple. You just draw it from where you want it to start up to where you want it to go to. Now, to keep profiles live, it's very easy to do that. Just double click on the profile and change the time per profile to present, and what that does, it keeps building in real time, so you'll always have a continuously building picture of what prices are being accepted and rejected in real time on any time frame, on any market. Doesn't matter. This is just a daily chart, but I'm just covering the basic concept here, and I'll move to more time frames and more examples shortly. But you know, in this upwards trending market, can we guys see that, you know, we're balanced, we're imbalanced, we're balanced, and we're imbalanced again? Okay. And what we can see here also is that when we pull back, where do we pull back to? So we accept in this range. Let's have a look at this last range, not the current range, but look at what happened in the last range. We accepted in this range. We rejected the unfair highs of that range, and we rejected the unfair lows of that range. The unfair lows, the low volume areas. The unfair highs, the low volume areas. Above and below the area of acceptance. Now we can put value in here because I like to see what prices I want to see. I want to see what areas is actually of acceptance, so I can target some of these areas for profit taking. So value becomes very much important when you're looking for profit taking levels. So like, let's say for example we were shorting the 13.25 half area, okay, up in this range as we come into this area. Now I could say to myself, okay, there's a high volume node here at 13.04, as you can see from the composite profile on the right hand side. As you can see from the volume profile, the value area profile here in the middle, we can see the high volume node of the VPOC for that is 0.5 quarter. So basically I could say to myself, if I'm getting shorter around that 25 quarter area, I could target that area as my main target, because that's the high volume area. That's a key area of acceptance. So if we're no longer accepting up here, and this is an area where we've been proving to reject prices anyway, it makes sense for me to firstly be looking for shorts there. But once I get proof that we're actually rejecting again, I can then get in. Then I can actually say to myself, okay, I target this area. So from not only understanding this basic stuff, I can say to myself, okay, I know where I'm going to get in. I know, firstly, before I even look to get in, I know where I'm expecting sellers to be doing business. I know where this market should be going to once we find those sellers. I could also be saying to myself, because I understand that, I know where I'm going to be taking profits along the way. Okay, so it's a full model for getting in and out of the market from just basic understanding of where is the market going to reject, where is it going to accept. Okay, so we'll spend some more time going through more and more examples. Just want to go back to next step. I'm going to move on to divergences, but I'm going to keep covering volume profiling for a little bit here. Okay, so we can see balance, imbalance there on a daily chart. Let's maybe move to another time frame. So that was a daily chart. Now we're looking at a 30-minute chart. Can anybody look at this chart without putting a market profile, volume profile on there, highlight where the market was moving sideways and was balanced and finding acceptance? Yep. Good. So it will make sense to say there was value found here. So we draw an area of value. There was some value found here. Okay. So I mean, most of you guys know we've been trading this area of value. Okay. Over most of February. Okay. Since the 20th of February onwards, we've been trading around this range. So what I have been doing in these situations when I've been highlighting this value, and of course, you know, this value has built over time. Okay, it started off with just this. Okay, we had just this. So when we had this, what was I doing? Okay, we're selling up here, buying here, selling up here, buying here. Okay, we got up here, range extension, sell. Okay, got back down here, buy. Then this range is developing in real time. Okay, so even if we just had this area of value, and we didn't even know where the rest of the value is going to build, but we know we've got some acceptance here. Okay, and we know market participants wanting to trade here. Before price even did business outside of this range, we could have anticipated that we might find sellers up here for the pushback down into this area. We could have anticipated we'd find some sellers up here for the pushback into this area. We could have anticipated we'd find some sellers up here for the pushback into which area? Fair price, VPOC. Okay? When we saw the sell-off on Wednesday, we could have anticipated, even just in reference to that when we got down here, we could actually extend this range and say, okay, most of the acceptances happen in this range. We are below value. Price is testing below value. It's a range extension. The major low was here. We've only really just sold off below that. We haven't spent a lot of time there. A lot of volume hasn't traded there. So we can anticipate, even right down here, we had a level there. This is 1272 extension, which I'm going to cover this evening, this afternoon for some of you, that we could have a rotation back into what? Fair price, 62. So is it really a surprise the market's gone from down here up to here just recently? When you look at that and you understand acceptance and rejection, it's no real surprise, is it? Right, now I'm going to be using Fibonacci extensions as well and composite profiling next. Okay, so how do we know what levels were of interest there? Well, one of the things we do on the daily chart is we highlight a key area, such as a high or low. So this is how you get your key levels. So we know acceptance areas attract the market and rejection areas lead to the key opportunities and areas for doing business and getting in. Okay, we understand value. The market generally moves away from value, moves back into value. Okay, at least until it starts to accept away from that area of value with new volume distributions. Does everybody understand that? Is there any questions about those basic principles before I move on? Any questions at all about acceptance, rejection, low volume, high volume, and value? Now it's going to become a lot clearer with a lot more examples I'm going to be going through, but does this make sense so far? Of course, it's just the basics, it's the foundation of it, but if you understand this, the rest of it becomes a hell of a lot easier. Good, excellent. Right, okay, in that case, it's 4:30 p.m. GMT. I think we'll all have a break now. And that's the morning session over. We've got lots to get through, and there is a lot to cover this evening and, of course, tomorrow as well. So, have a nice break. Get some lunch or breakfast for some, or dinner for some, I suppose. And we will reconvene at... let's say 5:15. 45 minutes, is that enough for everyone? Or does anybody need a full hour? I'm okay with 45 minutes. If anybody needs a full hour, let me know. So let's say 5:15, right? Good. Okay, 5:15. 5:15 GMT, so 45 minutes, okay, from now. And we'll come back and we'll start again. Okay guys, I will take off the screen sharing for the moment because I'm going to pause the recording, and to do that I have to actually unshare the screens. So see you guys in 45 minutes.